Part 36. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 355. The way people get along with each other varies from person to person. Everyone has a different personality and a different growing environment. When facing parents, you should be sensible and obedient. When facing younger siblings, you should be mature and reliable. Sorry, I don't know what to say. I always feel that after doing something wrong, no matter what I say, you will be angry. Suddenly coming to his senses, Kurosawa Hikaru smiled bitterly and shook his head in the face of her question. I'm not angry. Seeing his bitter smile, Ninomiya Chizuru found that he had indeed misunderstood, and quickly shook her head to deny it. It turned out that her attitude just now was too cold, which hurt Kurosawa's heart. Kurosawa had finally mustered up the courage to apologize to her and confess his feelings. He tried so hard, but in the end she was hypocritical. She was obviously very happy, but pretended to be very indifferent. At the same time, two lines of words appeared in front of Kurosawa Hikaru. Task progress update, make her feel distressed, 3/3 times. Task goal make her feel distressed has been completed. It seems that I guessed right. Seeing this prompt, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but secretly said. After all, Xiaoyuki and Mirai are younger than him, and have many difficulties, so they prefer to rely on him. On the contrary, Miss Ninomiya is a queen, older than him, and she prefers to take care of him rather than being taken care of by him. It has to be said that the system's task goal prompt is really critical. Because of the reminder of distress, he discovered one thing. Miss Ninomiya is a typical sharp-tongued but soft heart. Even if she looks cold, resentful, and angry on the surface, and regards him as a heartless man, she will say some weird words from time to time. But as long as he shows his weak side, such as he just told her that he was sick, a small cold, but didn't take medicine, even if she is stubborn, arrogant, and angry, she will still make a special trip to deliver medicine to him. Thinking about it carefully, he forgot to send a message when he and Xiaoyuki stayed in a hotel room overnight, but it turned out that by mistake, Miss Ninomiya's first reply was made. Miss Ninomiya at that time was probably afraid that he would be sad because he had not received a reply, so she softened her heart and mustered up the courage to send him a message. Are you really not angry? Realizing her character, Kurosawa Hikaru looked up at her and tested her carefully. He directly used his acting skills, and his eyes were very sincere and expectant. I'm not angry. Ninomiya Chizuru saw his expectant eyes and said affirmatively. I don't believe it, it's said on the internet that girls who say they are not angry are actually angry. Kurosawa Hikaru saw her firm attitude and said again. I said I'm not angry, and pretending to be sick is not a big deal, it's not worth getting angry, don't think too much. Ninomiya Chizuru didn't expect that he would actually believe those nonsense on the internet, and was very speechless, but still coaxed him in a good voice. If you are not angry, then kiss me. Finding that she was helpless and speechless, but still coaxing him, Kurosawa Hikaru's heart moved and took advantage of the situation to say. No. Ninomiya Chizuru subconsciously glanced at Kurosawa's lips, and his stunned and desperate face that day at the Budokan appeared in her mind, and she refused without hesitation. Although she liked Kurosawa very much, still had feelings for him, and wanted to be with him, she knew very well that she was not mentally prepared to accept his three-timing. Before doing this psychological preparation, she couldn't get too close to Kurosawa, so as not to give him hope and despair. Are you still angry? Faced with her decisive and unhesitating rejection, Kurosawa Hikaru's expression was fixed, and he lowered his head a little depressed and smiled bitterly. This time it was not his acting skills that worked, he was really sad, because Miss Ninomiya's resistance was too obvious. Admittedly, she was not angry about pretending to be sick, but she was still angry about what happened on August 10th. Originally, He thought that after so long, Miss Ninomiya should have calmed down. After all, her attitude has softened a lot, and she will not retreat if she gets close to him, and she took the initiative to touch him tonight. But now it seems that her resistance to herself has not diminished. How to judge whether a person loves you or not? You can't listen to sweet words, but look at the small details when you get along with each other. The look of love for someone can be pretended. The words of love for someone can be made up. But when you have physical contact with a girl, if she instinctively dodges, it means that she resists you from the bottom of her heart. Seeing his dejected and sad appearance, Ninomiya Chizuru reacted, felt very distressed, and choked for a while. "I'm sorry." Ninomiya Chizuru realized that she had hurt him again and felt very guilty. Hearing her apology, Kurosawa Hikaru's heart skipped a beat, and he raised his head to look at her face reflexively. "Don't say sorry to me." Seeing that her face was not as heartbreaking as that day, with tears and a heartbreaking expression, but just a little guilty, Kurosawa Hikaru felt relieved and couldn't help but said. Since that day, it was like tearing Miss Ninomiya's heart apart, and sorry has almost become a heart disease for him. When others say sorry, the nightmare that he had suppressed by force will be ready to burst out, ready to break free at any time. Miss Ninomiya's sorry directly pulled out the scene that he least wanted to recall in his heart. "Sorry, but please don't say sorry to me again." After the instinctive excitement, Kurosawa Hikaru saw her stunned expression, as if she was frightened by herself, took a deep breath, and chose to apologize and also asked. He was very frustrated, lowered his head and held his forehead with his hand, with a headache. Even with the help of the system, when he exerted his various talents, he was like a god, and he was smooth sailing in various fields. Even more, because he had done many dating tasks, he now had a clear understanding of dating, and knew what kind of date could make girls happier. But in love, especially such a messy emotional entanglement, he really had no experience and didn't know how to deal with it. He could only cross the river by feeling the stones, and he would sink if he was not careful. Sure enough, what happened that day has also become a psychological shadow for him. Ninomiya Chizuru was a little stunned and aware when she heard his excited request. Because she had just seen clearly that when Kurosawa heard her apology, it was like waking up from a nightmare, a conditioned reflex of fear and terror, that was a reaction of being frightened. This was the first time she saw Kurosawa like this. Irritable, depressed, distressed, helpless, decadent, without the usual confidence and calmness, nor the calmness in front of the piano, and the majestic presence on the field. Seeing him like this, Ninomiya Chizuru stood up after thinking. Bo. Ninomiya Chizuru walked forward, crossed the distance between the two people, walked to his side, bent down and kissed him gently on the face. This kiss was very real and powerful. Kurosawa Hikaru, who was manic and depressed, looked up in surprise and didn't notice when she came over. "I'm really not angry." Facing his surprised look, Ninomiya Chizuru felt a little shy, straightened up and said softly, "Thank you." Realizing her initiative, Kurosawa Hikaru came back to his senses, not knowing how to react, and said subconsciously, "Thank you." Ninomiya Chizuru, who finally mustered up the courage and made up her mind to kiss him, was really surprised to see his stupid reaction. "Is it not good to say thank you?" Kurosawa Hikaru, whose soul returned to the body, reacted. "What do you think?" Ninomiya Chizuru stood with one hand folded, looking down at him, very speechless. "Then I'll kiss you too, and we'll be even." Seeing her standing posture, which was very cold and beautiful, Kurosawa Hikaru stood up and said, "Running to each other will give people the courage to persist and work hard." Although he knew before that Miss Ninomiya still had feelings for him, he was also trying to run to him. But Miss Ninomiya's unhesitating refusal just now was like Pangu opening the sky, forcibly splitting the road between the two people and creating an insurmountable gully. But now, Miss Ninomiya's kiss has forcibly filled the gully between them. No. When Chizuru Ninomiya saw him stand up and was about to kiss her, she quickly reached out and pressed her hand on his mouth. Miss Ninomiya. Because of the kiss just now, Kurosawa Hikaru tasted the sweetness, and when he found out that she didn't agree, he immediately looked at her with pitiful and expectant eyes, calling her name in a pleading tone. Anyway, I have proved it, I'm not angry. Facing his expectant and eager eyes, Chizuru Ninomiya felt a little soft-hearted, but still shook her head. She was not mentally prepared to accept Kurosawa's three-timing. In order to avoid repeating the same mistake, even if she wanted to kiss, she had to wait until she was mentally prepared. Senior Ninomiya. When he found out that she didn't agree, Kurosawa Hikaru simply changed the way of addressing her. This is what Ms. Ninomiya hoped her students would call her on the day she resigned, and it was also a hint to him. From the day she resigned, there was no longer any boundary or barrier between them as teachers and students. No. Hearing this senior sister, Ninomiya Chizuru's heart was about to melt. After hesitating for a few seconds, she still shook her head. Before she made up her mind and was sure that she would not go back on her words and hurt Kurosawa again, she had to keep her distance. Chizuru's senior sister. Although she was still refusing, Kurosawa Hikaru could feel her hesitation and changed her name while the iron was hot. It really can't be done now. When Ninomiya Chizuru heard this name, her face and ears turned red, but she still shook her head and begged for mercy. Chizuru, just let me kiss you. Faced with her begging for mercy, Kurosawa Hikaru simply used his big move and pulled her arm and shook it. Faced with his coquettishness, Ninomiya Chizuru really didn't know how to refuse. After a while of entanglement in her heart, she stopped raising her hand and let him pull it away. He found that she had put away her strength and stopped trying to stop him. Her middle door was wide open. Kurosawa Hikaru was delighted and took a step forward to kiss her delicate and tender red lips. Ninomiya Chizuru thought he was going to kiss her face, but she was suddenly kissed on the mouth. Her body was shaken and her heart was startled. Two more for you. Visiting relatives during the Chinese New Year, I am so tired. Tokyo's most affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 356. The interaction and contact between people is not just about appearance and material support, the key is feeling. Sometimes, the atmosphere, timing, just the right emotion, even a simple hand-holding and head-touching can make people extremely happy and happy. I definitely want to be with her. Just a kiss and a slightly shy and evasive word directly ignited Kurosawa's heart. He couldn't even describe how charming Miss Ninomiya was at that moment. But the feeling at that moment was like when he fell into the cliff and lost all hope, a hand suddenly stretched out and pulled him up, as if he had been separated from the world and was reborn. How could he do this? The mouth-to-mouth kiss made Chizuru Ninomiya's mind go blank. Because Kurosawa changed the way he addressed her and even acted coquettishly towards her, she failed to maintain her psychological defense and still relented. But she was soft-hearted and agreed to let him kiss her face, which was not a kiss at all. The kiss felt so good, though. The hot breath and the soft skin contact were like a warm current flowing into her cold body, which was very comfortable. The kiss lasted for more than 10 seconds before Kurosawa Hikaru stopped. As the lips parted, Ninomiya Chizuru was still a little unfinished. After coming back to her senses, she raised her eyes and met a pair of dark and beautiful eyes. Eyes are the windows to the soul. Through these eyes, she could feel Kurosawa's hot and strong love. I want to go back. Seeing this scene, Ninomiya Chizuru suddenly woke up. Xingxing was very flustered, even a little scared, and immediately turned around and left. But the moment she turned around and took a step, a hand suddenly reached out and grabbed her wrist. Do not go. Immediately afterwards, an urgent call for retention sounded from behind, causing Ninomiya Chizuru to pause. Ninomiya Chizuru instinctively wanted to turn back, but she still restrained her inner impulse, shook her head, and struggled to move forward. "Are you leaving again?" Kurosawa Hikaru, who was standing there holding her wrist, felt her feeble struggle and couldn't help but say. With such strength alone, there was no way she could escape from his grasp, but the struggling movements were very heartbreaking. Was his behavior just now too extreme? But there was nothing he could do. How could he remain rational when he felt her closeness and pampering? After hearing these heart-wrenching words, Ninomiya Chizuru couldn't help but look back at him. "Kurosawa, I'm afraid I will go back on my word and hurt you like before." Facing his retaining and expectant gaze, Ninomiya Chizuru couldn't help but said. "Go back on your word." When Kurosawa Hikaru heard this, his expression was a little stunned. "I was very sorry that day. I thought I could accept that you had 3 girlfriends and that you were a playboy, so I mustered up the courage to kiss you, but I found that I couldn't bear it at all. I can't accept this and it hurts you." After all, they were face to face. Seeing that he was unconscious, Ninomiya Chizuru took a deep breath and confessed her feelings. At that time, she was on the verge of a mental breakdown and could not bear such a blow, so she chose to turn around and leave. But when she turned around, she faced Kurosawa's attempts to stay, but she escaped again and again. Every time she thought about this incident, she felt doubly tormented and guilty. If she had thought earlier that she simply couldn't accept it and hadn't kissed Kurosawa, things wouldn't have turned out like this. "You don't have to say sorry." When Kurosawa Hikaru heard these words, he let go of her wrist and stopped holding her. When a person wants to leave, even if you use all means to retain her and imprison her, you cannot destroy her will. "Kurosawa, I'm afraid I'll hurt you again, can you give me some time to think clearly?" Noticing his letting go, Ninomiya Chizuru felt that his mood was very low, and while explaining, she also begged. "How long do you need? A day? A month? A year? Or a lifetime?" Kurosawa took a deep breath, stood with his hands in his pockets, and looked at her with complicated eyes. During this period of time, he had thought of many ways to reconcile with Kins. Until today, after hearing Fujiwara Rika's voice at the office, he thought he had found the right way forward, which was to admit his mistake and express his sincerity of repentance, which would definitely prevent several girlfriends from meeting each other. But in the end, the fundamental reason why Chizuru kept her distance from him was not because of this incident, but because of her character. Make decisions before acting, this is a principle that smart people can learn, and he naturally understands it. But this principle does not apply to most real situations, especially love relationships. If someone is able to retreat from love, be measured and calm, it can only mean that this person does not love the other person at all. It is precisely because of his deep love for Ninomiya Chizuru that he makes many decisions and actions that lack consideration and calm thinking. "I don't know. You kissed me just now. I'm not angry. In fact, I'm very happy. But before I'm sure I can accept it, we can't do this. That's too hasty." Faced with his questioning, Ninomiya Chizuru was a little at a loss and explained. To be fair, she really wanted to kiss and hug Kurosawa, act together like before, travel together, play together, and make progress together. But she knew very well that this was an impulsive act regardless of the consequences. We must see the result clearly before we can reconcile. Do you only read the last page of the book? Kurosawa looked at her levelly and couldn't help himself. Before you start, you have to look at the results. This is very unrealistic unless you have the superpower to predict the future. Kurosawa, I'm afraid I'll delay you. Facing his pleading and eager eyes, Ninomiya Chizuru was speechless, and then smiled bitterly. Are you afraid you will delay me? As soon as these words came out, Kurosawa Hikaru seemed to have heard a joke and was suddenly amused. The corners of his mouth raised slightly and he confirmed. I'm afraid we won't have a future, I'm afraid we'll be separated in the end. What I'm most afraid of is that I'll hurt you again." Seeing his sudden smile, Ninomiya Chizuru's heartstrings trembled, and she hurriedly added, "Good." Hearing such words, Kurosawa Hikaru stared at her, thought for a long time, and nodded slightly. Ninomiya Chizuru couldn't help but feel a thump in her heart when she saw the change in his expression. What kind of change in expression is that, from self-deprecating and ridiculous, to guilt, sadness, regret, and a deep sense of powerlessness? Kurosawa. Upon discovering this, Ninomiya Chizuru felt very distressed and regretful, and couldn't help but reach out to him, trying to catch him. But when she stretched out her hand, just when she was about to touch Kurosawa, it stopped in mid-air. But after a brief pause, she continued to reach out and touch his chest. Is that really the case? Kurosawa Hikaru lowered his eyes to see her every move, raised his eyes to see her complicated expression, and became conscious. He has fully realized the fact that even if he has the help of the system and tries every means to reconcile with her, it will be extremely difficult. Because Ninomiya Chizuru has not reconciled with him so far, it is not because she still remembers what happened that day, but because she has a psychological shadow. On that day, he tore her heart to pieces with his own hands. Even though her heart gradually healed with the passage of time, the scars could not be erased. Powerless, too powerless, completely helpless. His thoughts were too naive. He thought that as long as he mustered up the courage to stay and make up for it, he would be able to get back together, just like before. But the reality is cruel, and there is no way for a broken heart to recover. Just like when he heard Ninomiya Chizuru saying sorry, he would instinctively feel fear. Today's Ninomiya Chizuru must muster up courage even if she wants to touch him. "Sorry, I was too impulsive. You should go back first." After thinking a lot, Kurosawa Hikaru took a step back and chose to bow his head and apologize. "Are you angry?" Ninomiya Chizuru found that he no longer wanted to keep her, and she couldn't help but feel a sense of panic in her heart. She felt that if she really left like this, the disconnected connection between the two people would be severed. "I'm not angry, I just figured it out." Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head. Under the influence of the date mission, he was even grateful for being able to discover that she felt sorry for and cared about him, and he went even further to let her pamper him through coquettish ways. He is happy, but what about Ninomiya Chizuru? Even though she was scarred and wronged in every possible way, she still loved him and doted on him. He only noticed that Ninomiya Chizuru's love for him did not take into account her difficulties, but now he realized it. "What do you want to understand?" Ninomiya Chizuru found that his expression became very calm, so calm that it was a bit scary. "Your words reminded me, you said you were afraid of hurting me, but I am not the same. I feel that if I continue to entangle, I will only hurt you more." Seeing her timid reaction, Kurosawa Hikaru still spoke his mind. Long-term pain is worse than short-term pain. Looking to the future, everything is full of uncertainty. Even if he is determined to reduce the meetings between his girlfriends as much as possible, there is no way to guarantee that they will never meet. No one can say what will happen tomorrow. It was as if he was dating a school beauty from another school online not long ago, and it was sweet every day. However, in the blink of an eye, he was betrayed, and the system was awakened, and his life changed forever. "How come, you are still willing to coax me? I am very happy." Hearing these words, Ninomiya Chizuru felt as if he was saying break up, and she immediately became anxious. Although their current relationship is very tense and they even quarreled, not long ago they were still calling each other by their last names. They were not intimate at all, and they didn't look like a couple at all. But she knew that before the fight, they were more of a couple than any other couple. Go to the amusement park together, go on trips together, play by the creek, have picnics, hold hands, hug and kiss. Kurosawa Hikaru heard her words and just remained silent. What happened that day at the Budokan had endless consequences. He had been devastated, in pain and heartbroken. She once broke down and cried, bursting into tears. "Kurosawa, please don't do this, okay? I was wrong." Seeing that he was silent, Ninomiya Chizuru reached out her hand again, held his wrist, and begged. "Stop accommodating me like this, I can't guarantee that I won't hurt you in the future." Facing her pleading, Kurosawa Hikaru felt a little soft-hearted, but he still used his arms to break free. "I'm not afraid." Ninomiya Chizuru grabbed his wrist again, this time very hard. "You are obviously very afraid. You are afraid of delaying me. You are afraid that we will not have a future. You are afraid that we will eventually break up. You are afraid that you will hurt me. But I am not the same." Kurosawa shook his arms, unable to break free easily, so he could only harden his heart and speak clearly to her. He struggled while speaking, gradually exerting his strength, and his excitement exploded. After what happened just now, he had personally verified the true feelings of Ninomiya Chizuru. "It would be better for both of you if you let go earlier. I'm very afraid of these, but I'm even more afraid of losing you." Although he was very strong, Ninomiya Chizuru still held onto his arm and refused to let go. She also became excited and said loudly. Kurosawa Hikari, who was originally very excited, felt as if his soul had been hit by something when he heard this cry, and his body, mind, and even emotions were frozen. The excited look and emotion gradually calmed down, and Kurosawa Hikaru looked at her in astonishment. "I know I'm trying to accommodate you, but I do." Seeing that he no longer struggled, Ninomiya Chizuru couldn't contain her inner thoughts at this moment. "I wanted to leave just now, not because I was angry, but because I was afraid that I would not be able to control myself and do more things with you on impulse. I need time to think clearly because I'm afraid that I will be like the day before, clearly promising you, giving you hope, making you so happy, only to make you so sad. Even though it's hard to accept, I'm still slowly getting used to it, just because I really don't want to lose you. But you turned out to be like this, and you said you couldn't be entangled anymore. Do you really want to break up with me?" Emotions broke out completely, and Ninomiya Chizuru found that he was silent, and his voice became louder and louder every sentence. She was really scared just now, so she was very angry. "If I really wanted to break up with you, I wouldn't have sent you a message before. I said at the beginning that I would respect your decision, but in the end I still shamelessly sent you a message just because I didn't want to lose you." Kurosawa Hikaru looked at Chizuru Ninomiya, who was clenching her fists in front of her, excited and anxious, and seemed to be very angry, and responded. "When I went to your house before, even if you stared at me like a betrayer and said all kinds of weird things, I still stayed there shamelessly, just because I didn't want to lose you. And what did you say that you were afraid that you would hurt me again? I never felt that you hurt me that day, because I was the only one who had 3 different things to do, and I was not so shameless that I dared to get angry when I was wronged." The two people faced each other, talking loudly as if they were quarreling, completely losing their usual calmness and rationality. "Really?" Revealing her true feelings, Ninomiya Chizuru was not afraid to see him so angry and excited, but asked. "It's all true." After the excitement, Kurosawa calmed down a bit and confirmed. "You never thought I broke your heart?" No, Kurosawa shook his head. "You obviously did, but the way you looked at me at that time was very sad, painful, and desperate." Ninomiya Chizuru didn't believe his lies. "I felt so bad when I saw you crying, that's why I did that." Kurosawa Hikaru was truly speechless. "I'm crying because I like you so much. I can't be like them. I can't helplessly watch you kiss other girls, and I can't easily accept you being intimate with other girls. I feel sorry for you because I know I love you, and I also know that what I did hurt your heart. I thought I was going to lose you, and that's why I was so desperate. I When he returned the favor, Ninomiya Chizuru originally wanted to respond, but she choked on her words. Because after she calmed down, she found that such a conversation was very shameful and not reserved at all. After the quarrel, it calmed down and the two looked at each other speechlessly. Only when they reviewed what happened that day face to face and revealed their feelings did they realize each other's true feelings. Without mind reading, no one can guarantee that they know what others are really thinking. Maybe I can feel the general idea, but the specific details are unclear. Because I love you, I was so broken when I saw you kissing another woman. Because I love you, I feel so desperate when I see you leaving. The two people had similar feelings, but after this quarrel, they clearly felt each other's feelings. I don't want to lose you, I still want to be with you. Drink some water. Ninomiya Chizuru felt a little thirsty and couldn't help but say. Kurosawa nodded. After saying that, Ninomiya Chizuru sat back to her previous seat, and then picked up a glass of water. As for Kurosawa Hikaru, he stood up and picked up the water glass and drank heavily. The cool water flowed down the throat, washing away the heat in the body, but the heartbeats of the two of them were still very fast. Because when people quarrel, they are often very emotional. Soon, Kurosawa Hikaru finished a glass of water, licked his lips, and looked at Ninomiya Chizuru beside him. At this glance, he met a pair of eyes, but soon they looked away. Compared to his heroic drinking method, Ninomiya Chizuru's drinking method was very ladylike and elegant. She sat on the sofa, her snow-white and slender jade legs were put together and placed sideways, holding the cup in one hand, putting it to her mouth and drinking slowly, and secretly glancing at him. However, after their eyes met, she pretended not to look and moved away. Do you really not want to lose me? Seeing the change in her arrogant little eyes, Kurosawa Hikaru's heart moved, and he mustered up the courage to walk to her side and sat down and asked. If I wanted to lose you, would I still be sitting here now? Wouldn't it be better for me to go to bed earlier? Facing his actions, Ninomiya Chizuru glanced at him sideways, very speechless. He asked knowingly, and he had said it so clearly just now. That's right. Perhaps he asked knowingly, but Kurosawa Hikaru never tires of it and smiled. Relationships between people are maintained by social software. They must be in constant contact so that the feelings will not fade, but it is impossible to get better. This is especially true for couples who are still in love. It is useless to maintain the relationship between two people by mobile phones alone. Instead of hiding behind social software and worrying about gains and losses, it is better to meet and make things clear. Only in this way can the relationship go further and give people courage. One update, but this chapter has more than 5,000 words, which is almost equivalent to 2 updates. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 357. Quarrels are intense emotions, excitement, or even arguments from above, which are completely incompatible with calmness. But it is precisely because I have lost my cool that I will speak my true thoughts regardless of the consequences and circumstances. When couples quarrel, the quarrel is usually the better, because in the process of quarreling, two people have the opportunity to understand each other's true thoughts and needs. Finally, there was a breakthrough and he was sitting on the same sofa. As the physical distance became closer, Kurosawa Hikaru felt that his psychological thoughts also became closer. Can I kiss you again? Looking at Chizuru Ninomiya next to her, seeing her beautiful profile with red lips and white teeth, a high bridge of nose, and willow-like eyebrows, Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it and mustered up the courage to ask. If she was willing to kiss him, it would mean that they were reconciled. Cannot. Ninomiya Chizuru glanced at him with cold blue eyes and shook her head slightly. Although they are sitting together, The two are not as close as lovers, but maintain a subtle distance. Why? Didn't you say that what matters most to you is that you think you hurt me? Hearing this, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly couldn't understand her thoughts. This is the thing that bothers me the most, but I also mind that you have other women besides me. Ninomiya Chizuru nodded slightly, her beautiful eyes as cold and aloof as ice crystals, revealing a hint of resentment. Ever since their first date at the amusement park, all her eyes had been on Kurosawa, but it turned out that this guy was flirting with women outside. While she was doing nothing at home during the holidays, reading and working, this guy was dating other women and even went to the beach to play. He obviously never took her to the beach, only to the stream. What's more, he took other women home first without knowing what happened. Well. Kurosawa Hikaru choked up when he heard this and felt that he was wrong. On this matter, no matter what he said, it didn't make sense. Chizuru, please kiss me again. Because the frontal attack was not possible, Kurosawa simply changed his attitude, stretched out his hand to support her tightly grasped arm, and started shaking her again. After this mission reminder and tonight's actual experience, he already knew that Ninomiya Chizuru loved him very much and doted on him. In front of her, showing weakness and acting coquettishly is the best way to get along with her, rather than being tough and stubborn. Give me some time to think it through. Faced with his coquettishness, Ninomiya Chizuru's mouth twitched slightly, and her expression was almost unbearable. Seeing Kurosawa, who was majestic on the field, stunning everyone on the stage, mature and steady, acting coquettishly with her like a younger brother, she had the urge to agree to his request no matter what. But it was really hard to let go of the grievance and sadness in her heart. Chizuru, just kiss me. Kurosawa Hikaru almost laughed when he saw her, and realized that she liked this very much, so he followed her wishes and continued to work hard. I'm going back, I have to go to work tomorrow. The corners of Ninomiya Chizuru's beautiful mouth could not help but raise a little arc. Realizing that something was wrong, she immediately made up her mind and stood up. This must not go on, she hasn't thought about it clearly yet. If you just follow his wishes, but break down and cry when you see him being intimate with other women in the future, you will only make the same mistake again. As a mature and smart woman, she must think about problems calmly and make decisions before proceeding. But even if she wanted to leave, she couldn't move at all when her arm was grabbed. Sister Chizuru. Just when Chizuru Ninomiya was about to struggle, Hikaru Kurosawa's next words made her body freeze. Sister Chizuru. Ninomiya Chizuru was very surprised. This title echoed in her heart and she wondered if she heard it wrong. She lowered her eyes and saw Kurosawa Hikari sitting there, holding her arm, raising her head slightly, looking at her eagerly and expectantly, making people unable to bear to refuse. Sister Kinhee, why don't you kiss me and leave? Seeing her hesitation, Kurosawa shook her arm again. Kinhee, you are a mature and smart woman. You must think about problems calmly and make decisions before acting. Facing Kurosawa like this, Ninomiya Chizuru's heart melted, but she still warned herself. Kurosawa is young and can act recklessly, but she must be sensible. Boo! Although she thought so, her body moved uncontrollably, and she lowered her waist and kissed Kurosawa Hikari's face gently. After receiving her sweet kiss, Kurosawa Hikaru was stunned for a moment, and then he smiled happily. Maybe it was a kiss on the face, but it was different from the inadvertent kiss just now. When I looked back suddenly, I realized that this time I watched her kiss with my own eyes. That's it, I'm going back first. Seeing his satisfied smile, Ninomiya Chizuru almost laughed, but her superb expression management allowed her to calm down and said coldly. Maybe she thought she was very cold, but her casual words had a completely different meaning to Kurosawa Hikari. Her cold and magnetic voice is very light and gentle, as if she is coaxing you, making your ears feel soft. The key is that she didn't laugh, but the smile in her eyes completely betrayed her thoughts. Good. He was very happy to find her, and Kurosawa Hikari felt extremely happy and excited, no longer dragging her around. Because when people please others and make others feel comfortable, people will feel a sense of satisfaction. What's more, this was the first time he saw Ninomiya Chizuru smile since she made her cry at the Budokan. Well. Seeing his happy look, Ninomiya Chizuru found that she had softened towards him again, and couldn't help but lament in her heart. She doesn't want to be soft-hearted, she also wants to act calmly and handle everything rationally and intelligently. But Kurosawa calls her Chizuru-san. How can she stay rational? I'll walk you home. Kurosawa Hikaru saw the smile in her eyes fade away and become complicated again. He was not in a hurry and stood up immediately. Maybe her mood was still very complicated, and the troubles in her heart were hard to get rid of, but tonight, he knew one thing very clearly. Ninomiya Chizuru didn't want to lose him, and she still wanted to be with him, but she just needed time to think about it. Think about it? You should have a good rest. I will take a taxi back later. Hearing this, Ninomiya Chizuru shook her head. Then I'll take you to the door. Realizing that she was not taking the night train but taking a taxi, Kurosawa thought for a moment and said without forcing it. Good. Ninomiya Chizuru nodded. After saying that, both of them took steps and walked towards the entrance. And next time you pretend to be sick, just pretend to be sick. Don't think about actually getting sick. Look at what you have done to yourself. You are not an underage child. You act so impulsively and without regard for the consequences. Along the way, Ninomiya Chizuru looked sideways at his natural expression, feeling speechless and depressed as he taught him a lesson. She was almost frightened to death when she saw Kurosawa's bloodless face, purple lips, and cold body temperature. Don't I want to lie to you? Speaking of this matter, Kurosawa Hikaru touched the back of his neck with his hand, feeling a little guilty. In retrospect, his behavior was indeed too impulsive, but there was nothing he could do. He had already felt deeply guilty for hurting Ninomiya Chizuru, and their relationship was on thin ice. If he was not careful, he might be doomed. I really don't dare to lie to her anymore. Have you lied to me too many times? Don't do this next time. Hearing this reason, Ninomiya Chizuru was a little touched. She rolled her eyes at him angrily and lectured him. It's really not easy to worry about having to torment yourself so much just for such a trivial matter. Maybe it was a lesson from being angry, but this look on her was so charming. Maybe she looked angry, but more importantly she felt distressed. Good. Sensing her distress, Kurosawa nodded obediently. Ever since he figured it out, he no longer tried to act cool and mature in front of Ninomiya Chizuru. He was obedient when he needed to be told and acted coquettishly when he needed to be coquettish. After all, she is an older sister's girlfriend, not a younger sister's girlfriend. Sister can he, what should I do so that you don't mind? In fact, after that incident, I thought about it seriously and will never make the same mistake in the future. Step by step to the entrance, Kurosawa Hikaru deeply realized how good she was to him, and he also wanted to reconcile with her as soon as possible. Which thing? Because there was no cause and effect, Ninomiya Chizuru didn't know what he was referring to. I just want you to meet, and I kiss others in front of you. I'm sorry. It takes courage to admit your mistake. Kurosawa lowered his head slightly, feeling very guilty. If you can't see it, does that mean it didn't happen? Will I never know? Seeing that he admitted his mistake, Ninomiya Chizuru looked at him and asked. Well. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't expect that she would say this, and was speechless for a moment. Actually, I think you are right about the meeting, because even if you keep hiding it, I will find out sooner or later, and they will also find out. It would be better to say that you admitted the matter of being a philanderer and told everyone an opportunity to choose is to do the right thing. Ninomiya Chizuru's beautiful eyes are like a mirror, clear and sensible, intelligent and mature. Maybe it was just a one-time encounter, but she knew that Ichino's Yuki was very perceptive. After all, Runa had followed her and was discovered after a while. Even though he looks stupid and his big eyes look innocent, like a poor student who hasn't studied much, with such insight, it's only a matter of time before he notices the clues and tricks. As for the future of Sifan, it goes without saying that such a wealthy daughter's vision and insight will definitely be discovered. Did I do the right thing? Facing her cold and intellectual attitude, Kurosawa Hikaru felt that he was impressed by her physically and mentally, and was directly convinced. Realizing this answer gave him a feeling of relief. In fact, he has always been obsessed with this matter. If I find out what you are obsessed with later, I may fight you tooth and nail. Ninomiya nodded slightly and squinted at him, her eyes as cold as a knife. Although that day, she found out that Kurosawa had another woman besides her, which made her very uncomfortable, but Kurosawa had vaccinated her in advance, so she was still conscious. If she hadn't calmed down and thought about what happened in so many days, but instead caught him in bed, she would never have been able to maintain her sanity. Sorry. Facing her cold and terrifying eyes, which seemed to have turned black, Kurosawa felt a chill down his spine and a numb scalp, and quickly lowered his head to admit his mistake. Although Chizuru Ninomiya sometimes behaves and reacts very awkwardly when dating, this is the effect of love after all. In fact, she is the smartest, wisest, and most mature of the three girlfriends, and her behavior is logical. If she were to break down, it would be terrifying if her actions became unpredictable. Just like the previous resignation, it was impossible to guess what she was thinking. Although you did the right thing by letting everyone meet, you still did the wrong thing by kissing others in front of me. Arriving at the entrance, Ninomiya Chizuru saw the pair of women's slippers again, and her good mood suddenly fell to the bottom. She knew she could get jealous easily, but Kurosawa kissed another woman in front of her. She felt like the sky was falling, and she witnessed the destruction of the world with her own eyes. I promise I will never make the same mistake in the future. Kurosawa Hikaru knew that this was the stupidest decision, and he regretted it for a long time, and said immediately, Realizing that he would pay attention to this matter in the future, Ninomiya Chizuru felt comforted and walked down the entrance. Holding the locker in the entrance with one hand, she took her feet out of the slippers and put her fingers together into the high heels. A beautiful woman looks good in everything she does. But it's also good looking, but it also has some moves, which are extremely sexy. Whether you are wearing high heels or taking off high heels, it is a very sexy move. Sister Kinhee, you are so beautiful. Seeing her tall and beautiful figure, Kurosawa Hikaru immediately praised her. Ninomiya Chizuru, who was standing on one foot and wearing high heels, almost lost her balance when she heard these words. Then she turned around and glared at him with a red face, feeling very embarrassed. This guy didn't compliment her on her beauty all night, but he did so when he saw her wearing high heels. It's really shameful. Ta-ta. Both feet were put on high heels, and Ninomiya Chizuru stepped on them. After fully mastering her balance, she turned around and looked at Kurosawa Hikaru. It's beautiful. Seeing her gorgeous turn, Kurosawa Hikaru applauded without hesitation. His mouth was sweet, and he was telling the truth. Wearing high heels, Chizuru Ninomiya has a very graceful figure, and her cool and noble, delicate and intellectual temperament is even more fascinating. Am I beautiful, or are they more beautiful? When Ninomiya Chizuru heard his unstinting compliments, she felt very comfortable at first, but after tasting them carefully, she felt something was wrong. She pulled her hair back with her hands and stared at him. Wouldn't this guy be so sweet-tongued when he was with other women? You are the most beautiful. Kurosawa Hikaru heard this question and responded without hesitation. This question seems to be a multiple choice question, but it is actually a proposition. Having said that, he had already expected the situation since he made up his mind to show off. Real. Ninomiya Chizuru was stunned for a moment when she saw his instant reply without thinking, and was pleasantly surprised. Real. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded slightly, very sure. He has already planned and understood his 3 girlfriends. In terms of appearance alone, his 3 girlfriends are all unique and perfect, but the differences in figure, personality, thoughts, temperament, and clothing give people completely different feelings. Yuki Ichinos is the cutest. Chizuru Ninomiya is the most beautiful. The future of Seifunjiyuan is the most perfect. Ninomiya Chizuru's blue eyes were like mirrors, reflecting his face without any flaws. After a long time, she nodded, feeling very comfortable and satisfied. The mood felt much better. After thinking about it, Ninomiya Chizuru bent down to take the pair of slippers she had just worn on the ground, and placed them on the right edge of the entrance. Noticing this action, Kurosawa Hikaru was a little confused. While looking around, he suddenly saw a pair of women's slippers next to him. Those were the slippers Xiaoyuki wore when he came home today. Noticing this, Kurosawa Hikaru's heartstrings couldn't help but tremble. Did she notice this as soon as she walked in? These are other girlfriend's slippers. In other words, when she was chatting with herself just now, she always knew that other women had been here before her, but she still stayed calm and got along with herself. Shocked by this, Kurosawa Hikaru looked at Ninomiya Chizuru again, feeling very guilty. If I come here again in the future, I will wear it. Don't put it away, otherwise it will be unclear. Facing his guilty look, Ninomiya Chizuru straightened up again and said. Maybe she wasn't the first to come, but she wasn't the last to come either. These shoes are for guests, and the style is similar. Why don't I buy you a new pair? Kurosawa Hikaru realized his mistakes and omissions, thought about it and suggested. It will be all right. Hearing this, Ninomiya Chizuru looked at the other pair of slippers, and then at her own slippers. The similarity was indeed very high, and she nodded. Having an exclusive pair of slippers in someone else's house is actually a very lucky thing, and it is also a proof of love and relationship. She couldn't refuse the offer. Then I will buy it for you later. Your foot size is 37, right? Kurosawa Hikaru looked at her feet and asked. Although he has never asked or played with it, under the influence of master-level painting skills, his eyes are like a ruler and he can feel the actual size of objects. How did you know? Ninomiya Chizuru was a little surprised. Could it be that he had secretly looked at his shoes? Visual inspection. Does he like my feet so much? He can even see this. Realizing this answer, Ninomiya Chizuru couldn't help but feel ashamed and blushed. Although this is different from the measurements, it is one of the body's measurements after all. The feeling of being known by others is still quite subtle. If the foot size can be visually estimated, what about the measurements? After being shy, she suddenly thought of a question. I don't know about this. I know your foot size because I have visually estimated it and I have encountered it before. Seeing that she suddenly looked down at her chest after being shy, Kurosawa Hikaru guessed her thoughts and immediately denied it. If someone can visually estimate the measurements, it is actually a terrible thing, especially for girls. Oh. Ninomiya Chizuru found that he saw through her thoughts and got the answer, and felt relieved. I'm leaving. After finishing the last thing, Ninomiya Chizuru looked at him for a few seconds, then slightly turned sideways and said. Okay. Kurosawa Hikaru walked down the entrance and opened the door for her. You don't have to see me off. Go to bed early. As the door closed, Ninomiya Chizuru found that he had also come out, and said immediately. I won't see you home, but at least I have to see you get in the taxi before I feel at ease, otherwise, It's already 11 o'clock, and you're walking outside alone. It would be bad if you were spotted by a pervert. Kurosawa Hikaru knew that she didn't want him to see her off to the door of her house, so he explained. He is very strong. Although he was exhausted just now, he has fully recovered now and doesn't need to rest well. What's more, he met her tonight, had a big fight with her, and let her kiss him twice. He is now full of energy and not sleepy at all. How can there be so many perverts? Hearing this, Ninomiya Chizuru was speechless. The key is that you are too beautiful. Any man can't resist your charm. Kurosawa Hikaru doesn't think so, and Chizuru's fighting power is so weak that it can be said to be explosive. At the beginning, she quarreled with Xiaoyuki in the martial arts hall and was about to fight, but she was pushed down. If she met a pervert with malicious intentions, she would have no power to fight back. The public security is very good now. Finding that he was praising her in various ways, Ninomiya Chizuru was a little happy, but still shook her head. Sister Chizuru, if I don't see you get in a taxi and get home safely, I won't be able to sleep. Seeing that she just wouldn't allow it, Kurosawa Hikaru simply changed his method. Okay. Being called Sister Chizuru, Ninomiya Chizuru immediately softened her heart and compromised. Let's go. Seeing that she was very fond of this, Kurosawa Hikaru smiled and said. Then, the two walked side by side to the elevator. All the way, the two were very close. When they walked out of the apartment, Kurosawa Hikaru intentionally got closer to her and walked together on the way to the main road. The evening breeze blew over her face, causing her blue hair to flutter, and there was a refreshing, charming fragrance. Sniff. Smelling her scent, Kurosawa Hikaru immediately took a deep breath, as if he had smelled something, and leaned slightly to her shoulder. What's wrong? Ninomiya Chizuru saw his action and was a little puzzled. You smell so good. Successfully attracting her attention, Kurosawa Hikaru took another deep breath and smiled. Don't smell it. Ninomiya Chizuru was stunned when she heard this, a little embarrassed, and quickly stopped him from doing so. For some reason, she always felt that Kurosawa was very childish tonight, not as calm, mature, and polite as before. However, just when she stretched out her hand to gently push someone, Kurosawa Hikaru grabbed her hand, even slipped into it, and interlocked his fingers. Let go quickly, what if someone sees us? Ninomiya Chizuru noticed this action and wanted to struggle to pull away, but this was outside. Although it was late at night, if she met students from the University of Tokyo and saw them holding hands, it would be the end. No, I will never let you go in this life. Kurosawa Hikaru finally held her hand. How could he let go easily? He was no longer acting coquettishly, but was firm in his attitude. Seeing him so domineering, Ninomiya Chizuru was stunned and her heartstrings were touched. What do you mean you won't let me go in this life? I'm going to take a taxi later, so you still have to let me go. Although his words were like a confession and moved people, Ninomiya Chizuru was a mature and rational girl after all. After being led by him for a while, she regained her composure and complained. You are talking about letting go physically, and I am talking about not letting you go mentally. Kurosawa Hikaru responded to this complaint with confidence. One chapter has 6,000 words, which is equivalent to 2 chapters at ordinary times. Although the number of chapters is less, the number of words is not less at all. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 358. After sending her to the taxi, the two separated. Please sit down. The driver said, and then he started off. Sitting in the car, Chizuru Ninomiya couldn't help but look back as the car started. A figure stayed in place, watching this side. That place was illuminated by the street lights, and the presence of that figure was very strong, making it difficult for people to look away. Perhaps their distance was getting farther and farther, but it just made people feel reluctant, not sad. Sister Chizuru. Until she turned the corner and couldn't see her anymore, Chizuru Ninomiya sat down again, thinking about what happened tonight, raised her right hand and gently wiped her lips with her thumb, and her heart couldn't calm down for a long time. Tonight's meeting and experience were really special. Whether it was Kurosawa who tossed himself so hard in order not to lie to her, it was heartbreaking. He had obviously lied to her countless times, but he ended up entangled in such a trivial matter, which was really speechless. And Kurosawa threw away his reserve and shame and acted like a spoiled child in order to get her to kiss him. Although it was different from before, mature and steady, polite and decent, but a little childish, clinging and coquettish, but she didn't dislike it. After all, she was older, and she preferred to be asked for something rather than asking for something. Watching the taxi disappear around the corner, Kurosawa Hikari turned around and walked home. The moon is so beautiful tonight. Walking all the way, Kurosawa Hikari looked up at the sky, feeling very wonderful. In the bustling metropolis of Tokyo, the neon lights shine, and the faint light of the stars is difficult to capture, but above the night sky, the bright moon is hanging high and clearly visible. The clouds are cleared to see the sun, and the clouds are cleared to see the moon. Unlike the previous visit, which was made by mistake, the result was a silent farewell. This farewell felt good, which made him look forward to and eager to meet again. So she is like this. Thinking of every move of Ninomiya Chizuru tonight, Kurosawa Hikari couldn't help but sigh. As a man, he is very face-conscious, especially in front of the girl he likes. Even if it hurts, he will bite the bullet and bear it, and he will never make a fool of himself. In addition, in order to make the girl happy, he will try every means to show his performance, cater to her preferences, and meet her requests. Like tonight, he was shameless and even acted like a spoiled child. If it were him in the past, he would never have done that. But after realizing that Chizuru doted on him and loved him, and that she acted like a spoiled child without shame, and succeeded repeatedly, he discovered one thing. Ninomiya Chizuru is not a tsundere, but just a reserved and self-respecting adult. She is bound by too many rules and regulations, and she is tied up and can't let go of her frame. She doesn't ask for help from others, so she looks cold and keeps people away. In order to get rid of her parents' control, she is very independent, so she looks mature and intellectual, and she is confident and shining. She is charming in every move. Even in front of her parents, she never relies on others, so it is impossible for her to do so in front of younger people and juniors, even if the junior is him. In a relationship, she is very similar to himself in front of Xiaoyuki. She is more accustomed to being needed by others than asking for help. She wants to please the other party, pamper the other party, and make the other party happy, and she can get satisfaction. That's why he only needs to act like a spoiled child like Xiaoyuki, and Ninomiya Chizuru will be able to let go of her reserve and reluctantly agree to his request. I don't know if she will be happy to invite her to shoot the MV. Knowing Ninomiya Chizuru's personality, Kurosawa Hikaru thought about the arrangements later and immediately had doubts. Now he is no longer the unknown person who just started out. After several rounds of activities, Lingshi's fame and influence, even if it has not reached the point where everyone knows it, is at least famous throughout the country. That's why the MV and attention of his next song, the piano piece Adelina by the Water, are definitely the focus of everyone's attention. In this case, if Chizuru Ninomiya is the heroine of the MV, it means that she will appear in front of people all over the country, or even the world. For Chizuru Ninomiya, who has a strong self-esteem and is very concerned about her face, whether she will agree to it is a big problem. Forget it, there is no choice, let's give it a try. Although he realized this problem, Kurosawa Hikaru quickly gave up thinking about it. Because it is meaningless to get stuck in a rut on this matter. The heroine of the piano piece Adelina by the Water must be her, not someone else. After returning home, Kurosawa Hikaru took another bath. It's still comfortable to take a hot bath. Kurosawa Hikaru wiped his hair and walked out of the bathroom, unable to help but admire it. Maybe it's in the hot summer, but taking a bath with hot water makes people feel clean after taking a bath. As for cold water, you will feel clean only when washing your hands and feet. After rubbing his hair and making a mess, but completely absorbing the water, Kurosawa Hikaru put the towel aside and sat on the bed. Before going to bed, he also picked up his phone and took a look. Ninomiya Chizuru sent a line message a few minutes ago, "I got home safely, good night." Seeing her good night greeting, Kurosawa felt relieved. Then his mind changed and he immediately responded, "I don't believe it. Send me a photo of you and your bed, smiling at the camera." Ninomiya Chizuru, why don't you believe it? Kurosawa Hikaru, you specifically said that you arrived home safely. This makes people doubt whether it was a message sent by someone else. You have to prove to me that you are who you are. Ninomiya Chizuru, I am myself, and didn't you ask me to send you a message when I got home? Kurosawa Hikaru, send the photo quickly or I'll call the police. Ninomiya Chizuru's voice message, I am who I am. Her voice was cold, sweet, and magnetic, and her tone was helpless. If you are kidnapped or held hostage, don't be afraid, just say it. I have memorized the taxi driver's appearance and license plate, and can call the police to help you at any time. Kurosawa Hikaru felt a little soft-hearted and hesitant when he heard her helpless words, but he still said it. I am really myself. I was not kidnapped or held hostage. You send photos, otherwise I won't worry. I just changed into pajamas, so it's not easy to take pictures. I'll send it to you tomorrow. No. Of course, Kurosawa Hikaru knew that she was not kidnapped, but was just making demands. The message was read in seconds, but there was no syllable. After 2 minutes, there was a reply, which was a photo. This is a selfie. Chizuru Ninomiya, who is wearing a set of light blue summer short-sleeved pajamas, with white wrists and smooth skin, is sitting on the edge of the bed and smiling at the camera. Puff. Seeing Chizuru Ninomiya's stiff and unnatural smile in the photo, Hikaru Kurosawa couldn't help laughing. Obviously, she is the type who rarely takes selfies. This photo is not good either in terms of angle or expression. Having said that, good-looking people are still pleasing to the eye, and a little funny. Your smile is unnatural. If you are in danger, you can speak out boldly. I will call the police immediately and go to rescue you. After laughing, Kurosawa edited another paragraph and sent it. Perhaps because she was pushed into a hurry, Ninomiya Chizuru started the video call directly. Kurosawa Hikaru, who wanted to continue to torment her, was stunned when he saw this application, but he still agreed. I'm safe. I'm the only one at home. Are you relieved? As the video call connection was successful, Ninomiya Chizuru's face appeared in front of the camera and she said helplessly. It's no longer a selfie, but a video, and the expression on her face is much more natural. Not worried. Seeing this scene, Kurosawa Hikaru smiled. I'm going to bed, I have to go to work tomorrow, good night. Seeing his smile, Ninomiya Chizuru rolled her eyes in embarrassment, and then said, good night. Seeing her white eyes, Kurosawa smiled even more happily. Because Chizuru in this state is very similar to the way she was annoyed by Miss Runa. She is no longer so restrained and reserved, but reveals her true feelings. And delete the photos immediately after seeing them, and don't show them to others. After saying good night to each other, Ninomiya Chizuru thought of something again and warned her in a strong tone. After that, she hung up the call unilaterally, just as suddenly as she had initiated a video call application. How can anyone be willing to delete such a good photo? Sitting on the bed with his phone in his hand, Kurosawa Hikaru clicked on the photo again with a swipe of his thumb, and couldn't help but say. This was the first time he got a photo of Chizuru. Although it does not have the blessing of beauty software, and it is not the kind of magical picture that makes people stunning at a glance, it is very unique, very attractive, and has a special meaning. When something is given a certain meaning and story, it becomes valuable and makes people want to cherish it. But if you leave it on your phone, wouldn't it be bad if Yuki-chan sees it? But on second thought, Kurosawa Hikaru was in a dilemma. As a model, Xiao Yuki is very good at taking selfies and has taken many beautiful photos. If she were to see this photo of Chizuru, which was not very pretty, but rather a bit funny, not to mention Xiao Yuki's reaction, Chizuru would most likely become angry. After thinking about it, Kurosawa's eyes suddenly brightened. He stood up and ran to the desk to turn on the computer. Immediately afterwards, he operated and encrypted the photos to lock them in the sea of files on the hard drive, and then deleted the photos on the phone. Done. After finishing this matter, Kurosawa clapped his hands, turned off the computer and said relieved. Under his operation, even if someone rummaged through the computer hard drive, they would never be able to find it. Even if they found it, they would have to face his multiple encryptions. At 8:21 in the morning, Kurosawa Hikaru and Koyuki took the early rush hour bus and arrived in Shibuya. Shibuya, Tokyo, known as the Street of Young People, was also the agreed meeting place. Kurosawa, Yuki. After walking through the crowded crowd and walking outside the station, a loud and exciting greeting rang out. Not far away, Shianai and his boyfriend Sato were seen arriving. Lan, good morning. After walking through the crowd and walking closer, Yuki Ichino's and Aoi Shiana held hands together and moved them up and down, very happy. Good morning. Are you too early? The agreed time is 8:40. Kurosawa Hikaru watched their friendly interaction and glanced at Sato, who seemed to be awake and yawning next to him, Chideo. He originally thought they were early enough, but it turned out that someone got there before them. Sato didn't want to say anything about this question, but just glanced helplessly at his beautiful girlfriend. Lan is impatient, and she is always the first to arrive at a party in the hot girl group, and she is not just 10 minutes early, but half an hour or even longer. When I met Kurosawa for the first time, everyone was waiting at the door of the KTV so early because I couldn't sit still and contacted everyone to hurry up and meet Ichino's boyfriend earlier. As a result, the anxiety that time directly caused 7 people to stand at the door of the KTV called Fantasy House for a long time. Men understand men. Sometimes, even if they have never met each other, they can understand each other with just one look. Do you all dote on your girlfriends? Realizing his helplessness, Kurosawa Hikaru glanced at Xiaoyuki and Lan, a little funny. He would arrive at the appointed place nearly 20 minutes early because Xiaoyuki was urging him, and she wanted to see Lan earlier. Yuki, you said you have a surprise for me, what is it? At the same time, Shianai was very excited. She had been looking forward to this day for a long time, and it was finally a multi-couple date for all the members. Different from the first time, and different from starting in the middle of the second time, but early in the morning, today they can play all day. While asking, she couldn't help but glance at Kurosawa Hikaru's backpack. That bulging backpack looks like it contains a lot of things. Does Kurosawa remember what he promised her last time? Help her put on makeup and take photos for her. Don't look at Brother Guang. The surprise that Brother Guang wants to give you is different from the surprise I want to give you. Noticing that her attention was wandering and she was still staring at her boyfriend, Ichino's Yuki pouted, a little unhappy. What's your surprise? Shianaoi nodded, stared at her with a pair of eyes, and asked again. Chiang. Having caught her attention, Ichino's Yuki mysteriously put her hand into her bag, and then took out a piece of origami paper. Although her formation was not simple, Xianai was stunned when she saw the scene and was not surprised for a while. Chiang. Seeing her mediocre reaction, Ichino's Yuki didn't give up and immediately opened the origami and presented it in front of her. Wow, Sister Hwa's signature. After finally seeing the whole origami, Shiana-ami looked at it carefully, and then her expression gradually changed from calm to stunned, even shocked. Hee, I promised you before. Seeing her visible surprise, Ichino's Yuki nodded proudly. She was very satisfied to see such a reaction. Even though she knew that Ms. Fujiwara looked down on her, she still had the nerve to ask for an autograph. It was really worth it. Yuki, have you seen Sister Hwa? Shiana-ai took the paper she handed over and was very excited. Thanks to Miss Igarashi, I met her by chance yesterday. Did we meet in private? What kind of person is Sister Hwa in private? It looks just as good as it does on billboards and on TV. I know her appearance is the same as in the camera. I'm asking what kind of personality she has. As one of the fans, Shiana-ai has long known about Fujiwara Rika's appearance through rumors among fans. Compared with what can be seen on the surface, she is more curious about the private side. Approachable and friendly to people. Faced with this question, Yuki Ichino's hesitated for a second and then said, "This is the truth." Although her eyes may reveal her true thoughts, such as looking down on her, Fujiwara Rika is still very approachable when getting along with others, and she easily agreed to her autograph. Very gentle, Aoi Shiana asked. It's quite gentle. Ichino's Yuki thought about it for a moment. Although he didn't feel this way, he saw her sparkling eyes and nodded in order to prevent her dream from being shattered. Compared to Miss Fujiwara, Miss Igarashi gave her the feeling of being a gentle and considerate big sister. That's great. I really want to meet Sister Hwa by chance. After receiving such an answer, Shiana-ai was very envious and looked at her eagerly. It's not that easy to meet Sister Hwa, because Sister Hwa's travels are very secretive, and reporters have almost no coverage of her private life. Occasionally, there is some tidbits, but they are based on rumors and have no evidence at all. Have you had breakfast? Hinata and the others haven't arrived so soon. Do you want to go get something to eat first? We can just wait here. Just watching the two girls chatting, Sato steeled himself, looked at Kurosawa Hikaru, and suggested. I have to say, this guy is really handsome, standing with her girlfriend, he looks like a combination of a celebrity and a model. The most important thing is that Kurosawa is not the kind of pretty boy who only looks good. He is also a top student, can also shoot arrows, and is both civil and military. Even though he is a man, he kind of admires Kurosawa. We've eaten. Where are we going to play today? Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head slightly and asked. Maybe they didn't live together, but Xiao Yuki went to bed early, woke up early, and brought him a breakfast. We will wait until everyone gathers and make plans after drawing lots. We have a whole day. Sato has long been used to this kind of multiple dates. It's still early in the morning, so there's plenty of time. No matter what you draw, you can have a great time. Kurosawa, what's in your bag? Aoi Shiana put the signature carefully in her bag and asked curiously. Although she had guesses, she still wanted a sure answer. Camera and makeup box, find some time today to take a set of photos for you. Facing her gaze that seemed to want to see through the backpack, Kurosawa put his hand on the shoulder bag and smiled. Is there just one group? Shiana's eyes lit up, and then she looked at him with wide eyes, full of expectation. It depends on whether you have enough time. If it doesn't affect everyone's gaming experience, I can take 2 sets. I have a lot to thank you for. Realizing that she was not easily satisfied, Kurosawa smiled. It's a deal. The negotiation was successful, Shiana was very satisfied. Maybe she didn't agree immediately, but she knew very well that both Aoi and Hitomi, although they didn't have an agreement, Both wanted Kurosawa to take a set of photos for them. Girls are all born to love beauty, not to mention they are hot girls. They like to take photos and record their beautiful life. Isn't this Yuki and Kurosawa? Long time no see. While chatting, a sentence came in. Not far away, I saw Kazuki Quay and her boyfriend Hinata walking side by side. Just a week, not a long time. Hearing her teasing and teasing, Itchy Nose Yuki said immediately. Isn't it not long ago? We used to see each other basically every day during the holidays, but now you and your boyfriend don't see each other very often. Chiyukui walked closer and spread her hands. Because brother Guang is too busy, and I used to go out alone with brother Guang. Date alone often. Regarding her explanation, Chiyukui imitated her tone of voice. Oh, why are you like this? Seeing how bad she was, Itchy Nose Yuki was immediately amused. He laughed and ran over to hit her. Seeing them having so much fun, Kurosawa Hikaru felt the same joy. Good morning. Hinata came closer and was very happy to see Kurosawa's arrival. Maybe he had never practiced Kyoto, but Kurosawa's performance at the Budokan that day really impressed him. Just appearing on the stage can draw cheers from the audience. Being able to meet such a powerful person makes him feel lucky. Good morning. It's time, why hasn't Hitomi come yet? After playing like this for a while, Chiyukui looked at the time and asked. Sunflower. As soon as he finished speaking, Hitomi Matsushita ran over not far away. Because of her petite figure, her short legs are constantly flipping, and with her pink twin tails, she looks quite cute. Sorry, we're late. When he ran closer, Hitomi Matsushita was out of breath and had sweat on his forehead. You don't have to run in such a hurry. It's not a big problem if you're 1 minute late. Chiyukui glanced at the phone and shook her head. Time is very abundant, and as long as you are not too late, it doesn't hurt at all. What's more, Hitomi was so tired from running, it wasn't intentional. At the same time, Yamamoto, a tall man, walked over slowly. You're still walking so slowly. Sorry, it's all his fault for walking too slowly. Seeing that he was still so slow, Hitomi Matsushita glared at him, and then explained. I can't help it. I'm so fat and can't walk as fast as them. Faced with her complaint, Yamamoto glanced at her, then looked at Kurosawa and responded. This sentence has a strong smell of gunpowder, giving people a sense of inconsistency. Is it an unreasonable disaster? Facing Yamamoto's hostile gaze, Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised, but after thinking about it, he roughly understood the situation. If he guessed correctly, because his performance in the archery competition was too impressive, Hitomi Matsushita was mentally unbalanced. Even if he didn't show it that day, in the days after that, he probably couldn't bear it. Just compare him with your boyfriend. For example, other people's boyfriends are like you, and you are like them. Such words, even one sentence, are fatal to boys. If it happens more than once, it's fine if they don't break up. It's still a 2 in -1. I'm so busy during the Chinese New Year and there are so many activities every day. Wait until next month, after the 15th of the new year, I'll be completely free and will add more updates. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 360. The atmosphere that was originally very happy and joyful fell to freezing point with one sentence. The teenage years are a period when the mind is more sensitive and delicate, and one will have more interpretations of a sentence. What's more, there is no need to interpret the sentence, and the dissatisfaction attitude is clearly revealed. After everyone looked at each other, they all looked at Hitomi Matsushita. Hitomi Matsushita didn't expect that he would make the atmosphere so tense with just one sentence, and her expression was very embarrassing. The main characters in the poly date are a small group of hot girls who are, after all, schoolmates and close friends. Maybe the hot girl group doesn't have a tendency to compete, but the boyfriend's performance doesn't have to be outstanding, but it must not hold him back or make people disgusted. It doesn't matter if you're a minute late, but don't spoil the fun. You're too angry to wake up now. Did you not get enough sleep last night? As the eldest sister, Chiyukui saw her embarrassment, glanced at Kurosawa's innocent look, took over the conversation, and smoothed things over. To be honest, I am indeed fatter. Yamamoto did not repent for what he said, but stared at Kurosawa Hikari with an evil look. Among the four boyfriends, he is the tallest and strongest, with long legs and thick arms, which can give people a strong sense of security. However, if you are hostile to him, it will not be a sense of security, but a sense of oppression and momentum. Yamamoto, everyone comes out to play for fun, not for grudges. If you don't want to play together, you can just leave. No one is forcing you. Seeing that he was still targeting him, Chiyukui's face suddenly darkened and her tone was tough. Kaiyu, you are very good to me. I don't want to quarrel with you, but I can't stand this guy. Yamamoto noticed that she was angry, turned his head and glanced at her, expressed his thoughts, and once again set his sights on Kurosawa Hikaru, and drew his sword on the spot. Why? Facing his dissatisfied look, Kurosawa Hikaru was not angry, but asked calmly. Today's multiple date hasn't started yet, it would be a pity if it ended on bad terms. We are all boyfriends. We all have a sense of propriety and don't interact too much with other girls. But you have been flirting with every girl since the first time you showed up. You have crossed the line, Yamamoto glared at him and said in a deep voice. Road. Can you tell me in detail who I flirted with? Hearing this, Kurosawa Hikaru asked again. I don't know if you did this to them, but you must have done it to Hitomi. Otherwise, after that archery competition, Hitomi wouldn't be obsessed with you and compare me with you. Seeing his calm look, Yamamoto said decisively. Hitomi compares me with you, does that mean I flirted with her? To be honest, on that day, except for going to the toilet alone, I acted with everyone the whole time. Everyone could see what I did. It's clear as day, I can count the words I said to her that day with both hands. Kurosawa Hikaru explained what happened to him. Still pretending. Can you call me Hitomi? You've called every girl by name since the first time you went on a multiple date. This is a cross-border interaction. I've known Itchy Nose for so long, do you think I've called her Hitomi, her name? Kaiyu is like this, and so is Shiina. Yamamoto became angry when he saw his calm look, glared, and scolded. Stop fighting. Following his anger, Hitomi Matsushita suddenly became anxious and reached out to pull the corner of his clothes. However, as she was only a little over 1.5 meters tall, there was no way she could pull down a strong man like Yamamoto. I yelled like this because when Yuki mentioned everyone, he always called Aoi, Aoi, and Hitomi, and they are all Yuki's very good friends, so I just let it go. If you mind about this, I can change it and call her Panasonic from now on. In response to this statement, Kurosawa Hikaru spread his arms and explained the reason to everyone. Being upright is not afraid of slanting shadows. For Xiao Yuki's best friend, he is doing good to everyone, but there is no way he will cross the line. As for the title, he didn't want to do it. After all, it was not very polite to call someone by name for the first time, but this was Yuki's request. Because Neon is very particular about first come, first served in small circles, latecomers will be squeezed out. If you want to build a good relationship quickly, you have to find other ways. Either he suddenly emerges and impresses everyone with his absolute charm, or he becomes warm and close and gets along in a familiar way. As a member of the Spice Girls, Yuki is very aware of the personalities of her sisters. They are informal and don't care at all about this difference in names. They even wish for it. Is that so? Chiyukui, who was watching their quarrel, was thoughtful. Should he say it or not? It is quite strange that Kurosawa calls him by his first name as soon as he comes up. I've known it for a long time, so I'm not polite to you and call you Kurosawa. Aoi Shiina was not surprised by this and smiled. You. Seeing his tepid manner of correcting his mistakes when he knew they were wrong, even if Yamamoto was holding back his anger, he had nowhere to vent his anger and could only glare at him. Since the archery competition, he has been really frustrated. Although the times were few, not every day, Hitomi would compare Kurosawa with him. For example, when he went to singing practice and he couldn't get a high score because he wasn't good at singing, Hitomi would say, "Kurosawa can sing so well, why can't you?" This kind of thing would never be said before. Nor will he compare his shortcomings with other boyfriends. Have you ever had a situation where your girlfriend compared you to Kurosawa? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Yamamoto noticed Akazuki and Shiina's affection for Kurosawa and said to their boyfriends, they must unite their front and face the outside world. If Kurosawa is left alone, this small group will be dismantled sooner or later. At this reminder, Sato and Hinata looked at each other, then at their girlfriends, and then at Kurosawa. Have it? Sato thought for a moment and responded. Have it? Shiina Aoi was a little surprised when she heard this. You said I don't know how to take pictures, and the pictures I took were too ugly. You also said that Kurosawa is very good at taking pictures. Sato looked at her with complicated eyes. Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Realizing this, Shiina Aoi thought about it and apologized to him with clasped hands. She knows that comparing other people's boyfriends with her own is very hurtful, but sometimes she just can't hold it back because the level gap is really huge. I know, I don't mind. Seeing her apology, Sato nodded slightly and touched her head with his hand. After dating for more than a year, he knew very well that his girlfriends sometimes spoke without thinking. Have I ever said that? Chiyukui, who was on the side, nudged her boyfriend with her elbow. Yes, and there are many, not just Kurosawa, you also compared Yamamoto and Hinata with me. Whenever you lose once, you compare me with them. In the middle of summer, Hinata was wearing only a short-sleeved windbreaker with half of the buttons buttoned, exposing half of her chest. She felt very resentful. Because Aoi's character is quite strong, he doesn't know how many times he has been told this. Then why didn't you tell me? It's not necessary, because there are some sports and games where I really can't compare to them, and you haven't touched my bottom line. What's the bottom line? For example, I'm not as handsome as them. If you say Kurosawa is more handsome than me, then I have nothing to say. Hinata also took this opportunity to express her doubts. Aren't you angry? Compare you with other men. Yamamoto didn't mind seeing them, which was very unpleasant. What are these two guys doing? This makes him very reckless and stingy. Because there's no comparison. Kurosawa is really handsome, and he's so awesome. Right. Sato and Hinata, as spectators of the Kyoto competition, knew very well how powerful Kurosawa was. That was simply the only focus. Just when it was his turn to play, he could ignite the whole audience and draw cheers from the entire audience. As boys, they are all handsome, let alone girls. What makes me so good? Isn't it just that my singing is better and my academic performance is better? Yamamoto saw their reactions and looked at Kurosawa again, speechless. Kurosawa's Kyoto is not just better, he is a national champion. Seeing that he was still unconvinced, Chiyukui explained. So what if I'm a national champion? It's just Kyoto. It's just a slow and troublesome shooting technique. It's just ridiculous. Yamamoto dismissed this. Although many people say the same thing as you, if you had seen Kurosawa's Kyoto, you wouldn't think so. After discovering his prejudice, Shiina Ran suddenly became unhappy and defended. That's right. Yuki Ichino's words were preempted and she nodded in agreement. The grace of that arrow shot out was so handsome and shocking. I've seen it, but that's it? Yamamoto still disagrees with this statement. He had watched the video, and although there was an uproar in the barrage and comment section, he also felt that Kurosawa was quite powerful. He could still hit a target from more than 100 meters away, but only a little. Hitomi, what do you want now? Are you still going to participate today? Chiyukui was too lazy to talk nonsense to him and just asked. Participate. Then let your boyfriend be more honest and don't make everyone unhappy. Chiyukui is not good at disciplining other people's boyfriends, so he just reminds her. Be honest, if you continue to make trouble like this, the consequences will be serious. After being stared at by her, Hitomi Matsushita realized something was wrong, so she simply twisted the side of Yamamoto's thigh with her hand as a warning and glared angrily. I won't make trouble anymore, but I want to challenge him to a duel. Yamamoto lowered his head and saw that she was angry, a little turned off, but still unconvinced. Single on one? What are you competing for? After hearing these words, Chiyukui immediately became interested. Simply playing is boring, adding PK and competition will make it more interesting. It is for this purpose that when there are multiple dates, there must be a couple PK session. The lottery hasn't been drawn today, right? Kurosawa, after the lottery is drawn later, no matter what I draw, as long as my performance is better than yours today, it means that I am better than you. You want to say Yamamoto Daiki is the best. Yamamoto Daiki took 2 steps forward, walked in front of Kurosawa Hikaru, lowered his head slightly, and looked at him condescendingly. Because Hitomi Matsushita likes the height difference very much, Yamamoto is a full 1.9 meters tall. He is the kind of macho man who looks very tough and powerful at first glance. In comparison, even if Kurosawa has recently strengthened his body and grown taller through various system rewards, it still falls short. What if I do better than you? Kurosawa Hikaru asked when he saw that he insisted on confronting him. Although he has a good temper and doesn't like this kind of emotional dispute, he also wants to teach him a lesson. Then I admit that you are better than me. In the future, if Tong compares you with me, I will not be angry with you, and I will apologize to you. In response, Yamamoto Daiki said without hesitation. Okay. Kurosawa Hikaru really wanted to say that your apology is worthless, but on second thought, the reward and punishment are almost the same, so he nodded. Today is out for fun, and it doesn't matter if there is a single challenge, anyway, he is not afraid. Ha ha ha, things are getting interesting. As they agreed to a duel, the atmosphere gradually warmed up, and she and Alan suddenly felt fun. For fairness, I will draw the lottery. The same is true for Akizuki Aoi. She can't wait to see the result. After that, she took out a small roulette toy from her bag. This is a party toy with a wide range of uses. You can also make personal requests and change the content on the roulette. On the roulette wheel, each grid has a different place written on it, such as the sea, mountains, skating rink, baseball field, bowling alley, and so on, with a total of dozens of items. It is with this little toy that they often get together to play everywhere without getting tired of it. Click. Akizuki Aoi squatted down, put the roulette wheel on the ground, and pressed the button directly. The next moment, the pointer of the roulette wheel was in front of everyone and spun quickly. You are quite good at playing. Compared with the pointer, Kurosawa Hikaru was also curious. As for the places on the roulette wheel, even if you go to one every day, you can go to different places in a month. After the pointer spun quickly, it soon slowed down. Under the watchful eyes of the public, the pointer stopped, and the corresponding grid said skating rink. Good. Seeing this result, Yamamoto Daiki couldn't help but clench his fist, very excited. Skating rink, it seems that the luck is on Yamamoto's side. Sato was a little surprised to see this result. It's over, How could it be an ice rink? Shion-Alan held her head with both hands and squatted down in despair. Is he good at the ice rink? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised to find out their reaction, and then asked Ichino's Yuki. Yamamoto is from Hokkaido, he is very good at skiing, and he should be good at skating too. Ichino's Yuki inquired about this, paused for a few seconds, and then sighed. She has been to many places with everyone, but there are also some activities that she did not participate in, so she doesn't know much. But she has been to the ski resort with everyone, and she knows how good Yamamoto is in winter-related activities. To be honest, she originally thought that Hikaru would win in most events, but it happened to be skating, which was very suspenseful. It's not that he should win, but he is very good at it. Faced with her revealed information, Yamamoto Daiki felt that he had won, and said proudly with his arms folded. As a Hokkaido native, after coming to Tokyo, no matter how many friends he made, he never lost in skiing and skating. Seeing his smug look, Ichino's Yuki was a little depressed. Although this was an individual competition, winning or losing would not cause any loss to the individual, at most it would be a loss of face, but she really didn't want to see Gwanga lose to others. And Gwanga came to participate in today's multiple dates for her sake. If he didn't have fun, there might not be a next time. He is very good at it, but am I not good at it? Don't you remember that I am very good at skiing? Seeing Yuki's depression, Kurosawa Hikaru asked immediately. Hearing this, Ichino's Yuki looked at him in disbelief. When they first met, although she had explained her boyfriend's information and background, and skiing was included in the decathlon, but that was just a casual thing she said on different occasions, and it was not true at all. Could it be that Gwanga really knows how to ski and skate? Yes, Yuki said that Kurosawa can ski. Did she say that? Shion-Alan was moved by the scene and reacted. It is true that I did say that, but skiing and skating are not the same thing. Matsushita Hitomi also had an impression, but after taking a look at Kurosawa, she said lightly. She has been dating Yamamoto for more than a year, and she knows very well how good her boyfriend is at the skating rink. Although that is the case, Kurosawa is not without a chance of winning, and he said he is also good at it. Shion-Alan is very protective of Kurosawa and has an almost blind admiration for him. Shiona, just now you were holding your head and shouting that it was over, and now you are saying this again. Do you believe it yourself? Seeing her face change drastically, Hinata on the side teased. It's so annoying. Shion-Alan was not embarrassed by this, but glared at him. Why don't we draw 2 more times? 3 games and 2 wins, more professional and fair. At the same time, as the person in charge of the hot girl group activities, Akazuki Aoi thought about it and suggested. Akazuki, you are too biased, aren't you? Usually, you draw something and play there for a day. Yamamoto Daiki was immediately unhappy when he heard this and complained. But you're from Hokkaido, it's not fair to compete with you in ice sports. Why is it unfair? This is the result of the lottery. What if you get the archery dojo? Is there still a best of 3 rule? There's no archery dojo in the roulette wheel. I mean, the result has been drawn, you can't be biased. It's okay, just go to the skating rink and let him win. Seeing their argument, Kurosawa Hikaru said. Your tone is really loud. Yamamoto Daiki, who was still arguing his case, felt that he was being looked down upon when he heard this. Stop talking trash before the game and let's go. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't want to talk nonsense, he just urged everyone to take action. Let's go. Seeing his confidence, Chiyukoi nodded after thinking about it, looking forward to today's PK. She originally thought that if she went to the skating rink, the competition would be one-sided. After all, Yamamoto's skating skills were indeed very strong. Facing them, she could be described as crushing. But seeing Kurosawa so confident and unafraid, she suddenly felt that the game was suspenseful. Kurosawa, may I excuse you? When they started to take action, Before they took a few steps, someone quickly followed them and shouted. Upon hearing this title, everyone turned around and saw four young and beautiful girls with immature looks. What's the matter? Kurosawa Hikaru tried to dissuade him from this, stopped and asked. Kurosawa, we are your fans. Your performance in the archery competition was so handsome. Yes, so handsome. Can you please sign for us? All four girls mustered up the courage to speak. I still have things to do. Realizing their needs, Kurosawa declined. In fact, the reason why he was urging him to leave just now was because they stayed in the street for too long and attracted a lot of eyes and attention. I'm very sorry for disturbing you. Sorry. Facing his polite refusal, the four girls all looked disappointed, but they were very sensible and bowed their heads to apologize, showing great etiquette. Did you bring a pen? Where did you sign? Seeing their disappointed looks, Kurosawa Hikaru's sharp eyes saw the Kyoto magazine in one of them's hands and simply asked. Yes, please sign here. After hearing this, the four girls realized that he had changed his mind. They hurriedly looked for pens and took out a Kyoto magazine. Yamamoto Daiki on the side looked at the magazine that the four girls wanted to sign. He couldn't help but look at it sideways and took a few more glances. Because the character on the cover of the magazine is clearly Kurosawa Hikari, holding a bow and shooting an arrow. Although he had watched the video of the Kyoto competition, but it was in magazines and could be recognized by fans on the street, could it be that Kurosawa is more powerful than he thought? Thank you very much. Player Kurosawa, we will always support you. After signing their names one by one, the four girls were all satisfied and couldn't help but be happy. After a brief interlude, they set off again. Brother Guang, I'm your fan and I want to sign it too. Along the way, Ichino's Yuki thought of what happened just now and said coquettishly. Do you have a Kyoto magazine? Seeing her hesitating, Kurosawa Hikaru wondered if she was jealous, so he thought about it and asked. No, I'm not your Kyoto fan, I'm your fan. Ichino's Yuki shook her head. If it weren't for those girls, she would never have seen a magazine that published Kyoto. This kind of magazine is quite unpopular, with very few sales, and only people pay attention to it in the small circle of archery. Then I'll give you a kiss. Realizing her situation, Kurosawa Hikaru smiled, leaned his head over and kissed her gently on the face. Yuki Ichino's was suddenly attacked and couldn't help but be stunned. Wow! How bold! Seeing this scene, the people on the side cheered. Although they had a lot of fun at places like karaoke, kissing on the street early in the morning was still relatively rare. Stop teasing. Ichino's Yuki came back to her senses, feeling a little embarrassed, laughing and scolding them. Where are we going now? Kurosawa Hikaru didn't want to see Xiao Yuki being laughed at because of his face, so he changed the subject. The girls were fooling around, while the boys were watching a show. Go to the outer garden. Yamamoto Daiki heard this and said immediately. When he learned about the destination, Kurosawa Hikari had no impression. Mijijingu-gain has the largest indoor skating rink in Tokyo. Don't you even know this? Sensing his expression, Yamamoto Daiki added and tested. Of course I know, just tell the truth. Kurosawa Hikaru naturally had an impression of Miji Shrine. Seeing him deliberately doing this made him speechless. People who have been there are accustomed to calling it Wiwan. Yamamoto Daiki didn't care at all about this statement, and he was very confident. This guy doesn't even know what a foreign garden is, so you can imagine his skating skills. 2 in 1 big chapter. I took leave yesterday because of Kevin. I don't have any ideas. Sorry. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Woojin. Chapter 361. Meiji-jingu Shrine, Gein Ice Rink, is located in Kazumajayakacho, Shinjuku-ku, Tokyo. Everyone was in high spirits when they arrived at their destination by subway. After all, in the hot summer, the skating rink is a natural place to cool down, and it also has the added bonus of a competition. Although the rewards and punishments of this duel are not very good, everyone wants to see Kurosawa's level. However, before everyone could enjoy themselves directly, when they arrived at the Wiwan skating rink, there was a "not open" sign on the door. "Why didn't you open the door?" Seeing the closed door, Yamamoto Daiki, who was already gearing up and couldn't wait, was a little surprised. "You are so familiar with Wiwan and you don't even know about it, how can we know?" Seeing this opportunity, Kurosawa Hikaru spoke. "Even though I'm familiar with it, I haven't been paying attention to the skating rink. How do I know why it's not open today?" Sensing his strange aura, Yamamoto Daiki choked and said, "The skating rink is not open yet, please come back after 10 o'clock. Because Kurosawa Hikaru and his party were standing at the gate in a mighty manner, a staff member not far away walked up and explained. This staff member is a middle-aged uncle wearing a blue uniform, with crow's feet at the corners of his eyes, and traces of time on his appearance. Are you a staff member here? How can we get in early?" After hearing this explanation, Yamamoto Daiki realized his identity and said immediately, "The Wiwan is usually open to members and professionals for training in the morning, and is only open to ordinary tourists in the afternoon. It is summer vacation and it is the peak season, so the time has been advanced. Please wait a little longer." In response to the request, the middle-aged uncle just looked at them seriously and then explained, "I'm very professional." After hearing this statement, Yamamoto Daiki immediately patted his chest and said confidently, "I wonder who you are." Seeing his arrogant look, the middle-aged uncle suddenly realized that he had underestimated him and suddenly became serious. "I'm from Hokkaido." Upon hearing this answer, the middle-aged uncle was immediately speechless. Does this guy think that because he is from Hokkaido, he is considered a major? "Uncle, what's in your eyes? Do you want to compete with me?" Seeing this look, the young and energetic Yamamoto Daiki suddenly felt unhappy. "Please come back after 10 o'clock. Faced with such a provocation, the middle-aged uncle was very impatient and didn't bother to pay attention to him. He just said a word and planned to turn around and leave. "Please wait a moment." Seeing his attitude, Kurosawa Hikaru spoke. "No matter how much you say, I can't let you go in to skate before 10 o'clock. If you can take out your membership card, then let's talk about it differently." After hearing this, the middle-aged uncle looked back at him and said, "Although this man seems to be quite elegant, very polite and intellectual, and not as rude as the countryman from Hokkaido, but the business hours have not yet come. We can't go in to skate, so can we go in first and have a look?" Kurosawa knew that they did not have membership cards, but he still negotiated politely. "Go in and take a look." Hearing this request, the middle-aged uncle couldn't help but be stunned. "It's only 9:15 now. You see, we're all here. Waiting here is also waiting, and waiting when we go in is waiting. It's only more than half an hour. Please be accommodating." Kurosawa Hikaru took out his phone and took a look at it before saying, "It's not impossible, but you absolutely can't go on the ice skating. Before the official opening, you have to press the ice, clear the ice, and replenish the ice. You can only watch from the sidelines. You can't make loud noises or disturb others." Seeing that he had a good attitude, the middle-aged uncle looked at the group of 8 of them again, and after thinking about it, he changed his mind. These people were all kids, interested in skating, and there was no need to turn people away. If it's something he can build, he might be able to become a permanent member of the skating rink in the future. Thank you very much for your consideration. After the negotiation was successful, Kurosawa Hikaru looked at each other, smiled at each other, and then bowed his head slightly to thank him. Remember to buy your tickets, go on stage when the time comes, and don't cause trouble to others. Seeing that the attitude of these children was very upright, the middle-aged man nodded slightly and gave Yamamoto Daiki a warning look. Although this group of people were dressed rather casually, judging from the exchange just now, this guy was the most noisy. New. By the way, you have to play in the outer circle. The outer circle is a place for tourists. Don't rush into the inner circle. After thinking about it, the staff was very nagging. The inner circle is mainly used for rotation and jumping training, while the outer circle is for slow gliding. Good. Everyone also responded to this advice. When playing in other people's venues, you must naturally follow other people's rules. The staff looked at Kurosawa a few more times, reminded him to keep an eye on everyone, and opened the door for them. You obviously have to buy a ticket and pay, but there are so many restrictions. It's not like I haven't been here before. After finally crossing the gate of the outer garden, Yamamoto Daiki couldn't help but complain after the gate was closed. They had been to Wiwan once before and had an impression of this place, but that time they came in the afternoon, not early in the morning. You can enter the inner circle if you want, but you have to wait until the official opening time and don't cause trouble to others. Akazuki Aoi knew that he really knew how to skate, and had been in the inner circle before, so she just reminded him. Not long after, they walked all the way to the entrance of the ice rink, where there was an automatic ticket machine next to it. It was very simple to buy tickets. Neon's automatic ticket machines were very developed, basically covering all industries. For high school students, those over 15 years old are considered adults, and a one-day ticket costs 1,890 yen, plus rental skates, which cost 520 yen separately. However, such a price is nothing for this group of people. After all, they go in and out of various occasions all day long to play, and they are willing to spend money on playing. There are many windows and passages in the huge building. Inside the window, there are staff members wearing dark uniforms standing behind the counter. They need to first collect rental skates and protective equipment for tourists, such as knee pads and helmets. After a lot of trouble, they finally officially entered the outer garden. The Gain skating rink is a standard world competition venue. It is very wide and has a high ceiling. There are paths for people to walk on the periphery, which are all separated by fences, so that tourists can hold the fences while experiencing skating on the periphery. As we arrived at the venue, the temperature inside was very cool, as if we had walked directly into an air-conditioned room. Wow, so cool. Finally arriving at the ice rink, Shianalan felt the oncoming cold wind and was very surprised. She opened her hands holding the tourist skates and embraced the comfort of the air-conditioned room. Maybe it was still past 9 o'clock, but the sun was high, and she had been running around outside for so long that she had already felt hot. Keep your voice down. Akazuki Aoi heard her loud voice and reminded her. There are so few people this time. Hinata looked at the scene on the ice rink and couldn't help but sigh. When they came before, it was in the afternoon. The skating rink was very lively at that time. It couldn't be said to be overcrowded, but it was still quite crowded, and it was difficult for people to let go and play. But this time, there were only a few people on the ice rink, and the venue was so big that we could have a great time later. She's here too. Sato, who was also looking at the environment, was surprised after looking around. On the ice rink, a white figure was skating in the center of the rink. Her movements were very graceful, like a butterfly dancing on the ice, light and dreamy. Although her long white hair was tied up, her beauty, like an elf from a fairy tale, was amazing. She had a beautiful face, a lotus-like face, three-dimensional facial features, delicate cheeks, flying pavilions, and flowing red, and a beautiful face. She had a unique temperament, wearing a costume with purple as the base and black as the supplement, which set off her white skin that seemed to glow to the fullest. It was the beautiful sister I saw at the Tokyo Bunkakaikan that day. When Shion-Alan heard this, she followed her gaze and was surprised. Is it really such a coincidence? In fact, when Kurosawa Hikaru walked in, he noticed Miki Shiraha at first sight, faster than everyone else, and couldn't help but feel a little headache. When drawing lots for the skating rink, he actually found out, this place might be where Miki Shiraha would appear. But he thought about it again. There are so many skating rinks in Tokyo, and it's summer vacation, so it's not necessarily possible to meet. You know, it's actually very difficult for two people to meet in Tokyo, a big city, without making an appointment in advance. Miki Shiraha. Just then, someone suddenly called out a name. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and found that it was Yamamoto Daiki. Do you know her? Matsushita Hitomi was a little surprised to see her boyfriend's reaction. Her boyfriend was big and strong, and he was usually interested in video games, fitness, fighting skills, and other things. He basically knew nothing about celebrities and beauties. Yamamoto Daiki nodded and explained, she is a celebrity in Hokkaido. She is a beautiful figure skating genius who became famous at a young age. She won the Neon Junior Figure Skating Championship at the age of 10, and won the World Championship for the youth women at the age of 15. All cities in Hokkaido were shocked by this. Wow! Shion-Alan was amazed when she heard these introductions, and looked at the white-haired beauty on the field again, admiring and envious. She admires powerful people, because she knows her own incompetence, so she is particularly interested in the stories of strong people and geniuses. Is she so powerful? Ichi-Nozuki smacked her lips. She had an impression of Miki Shiraha. She knew that this white-haired sister was an excellent student at the University of Tokyo and a junior of Guangji. She also knew that the sister was her potential rival in love. But what she never expected was that the sister won the national championship in figure skating at the age of 10 and the world champion at the age of 15. Isn't this too powerful? I always feel that every girl around Guangji is really amazing. She is really amazing. Hokkaido almost praised her to the sky. Unfortunately, she suddenly retired 3 years ago. It is said that she broke her leg while practicing figure skating. Since then, she has never participated in any competitions and even disappeared. I didn't expect that she would come to Tokyo, and she is still skating, and she is skating so well. The dusty memory was awakened. Seeing the figure of Miki Shiraha, Yamamoto Daiki took 2 steps forward and leaned on the fence, a little excited. There is such a thing. When Kurosawa Hikaru heard these words, he looked at Miki Shiraha on the field with some surprise, his eyes wandering on her bandaged thighs and knees. Compared to his glorious past, what concerned him more was his injuries. If he had read correctly before, when they met by chance at the camera store for the second time, Miki Baiha probably didn't practice figure skating because he was injured. Maybe he doesn't know much about figure skating, but he knows very well that every competitive sport is accompanied by various injuries. It is common for athletes to get injured. That's why he didn't care much about the injury. Because she didn't seem to be seriously injured, she probably injured her knee, which made her a little awkward when walking. When she stood on tiptoes to help him lift the light, her whole body would be tight and painful. But if the old wounds are not healed and new ones are added, then the problem will be serious and worrying. She broke her leg before. Where did she fall? Thinking of this, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but feel irritated and couldn't help but ask. Knees, you see her knees are still bandaged, is it the injury from that time that hasn't healed yet? When Yamamoto Daiki saw the appearance of his childhood goddess, he immediately put the duels and grudges behind him, and instead felt worried. For professional athletes, in sports that require a high degree of concentration and intense activities, attention is often highly concentrated. During the game, no matter what happens in the audience, they will not care. But the game is a game and training is training, and there are still subtle differences. Mickey Bayu, who was concentrating on training, swayed with the movements of his feet after gliding at a constant speed, then rose into the air and tried to jump forward. Her movements were graceful and light and smooth. But just as she was spinning in circles, a figure broke into her peripheral vision. Perhaps the afterglow at that moment was like sitting in a super-speeding car and looking at the trees passing by outside the window. It was difficult to see clearly and made people unaware. But what if this tree is special, both in shape and color? Kurosawa-senpai. Even though it was a vague outline that flashed by, Mickey Bayu still realized it and was shocked by it. As this answer came to his mind, Mickey Bayu, who was spinning in mid-air, instinctively turned his head to look. As the angle of her head changed in an unnatural way, Kurosawa Hikaru was immediately startled. Maybe his skating skills are not permanent, just experience cards, but with the skates in his hand, his knowledge of skating is triggering. That's why he knows very well that in skating, jumping is one of the most attractive actions for the audience, but it is also a very difficult action. When jumping in figure skating, you must master the rhythm before taking off, because this action is very risky. Once you make a mistake, you may be seriously injured if you are not careful. The next moment, Mickey Bayu landed, but she did not fall to the ground, but landed on her feet after a triple jump. The landing wasn't perfect, and my body was a bit unbalanced. Awesome. But even so, in the eyes of a layman like Shianai, it was still a very wonderful performance, and he couldn't help but applaud and cheer. She's still holding on. The tall Yamamoto Daiki was very touched. Only Kurosawa Hikaru breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that she didn't fall. The movement she challenged just now should be a triple axel. Her body speed is very fast. If she makes a major mistake, she may be seriously injured. At the same time, Mickey Bayu, who had stabilized his body, raised his head and looked closely, and saw Kurosawa Hikaru under the ice rink. It's really Kurosawa-senpai, why is he here? Seeing the black hair, elegant temperament, and handsome appearance, Mickey Bayu felt incredible. She never dreamed that she would meet Kurosawa-senpai by chance during her daily practice at the Wioan ice rink. Could it be that he knew I would train here? Or is it just a fateful encounter like before? Did Kurosawa-senpai accompany her? But at this moment, Mickey Bayu saw the blonde girl next to Kurosawa Hikaru. His active and restless mind was as if a basin of cold water had been poured on it, cooling him instantly. Realizing that he came here to accompany his girlfriend, Mickey Bayu pursed his lips, feeling very uncomfortable. In an instant, the scene of meeting Kurosawa-senpai by chance in a photography shop for the second time brought to mind the grievances and sadness that had not been relieved that day. That day, she just helped lift the lighting lamp at the suggestion of the store clerk. At that time, even though her knee was scraped and it would be painful to lift things high, she still tried to help. She didn't expect such a small thing to get such a good response, but Kurosawa-senpai was afraid of avoiding her. When he found out that he wanted to be alone with her, he turned around and left. This feeling of doing good things but being disgusted was really terrible. Uncomfortable. The more he thought about it, the more he felt wronged and sad. When Miki Shiryu looked at Kurosawa Hikaru and Ichinose Yuki standing outside the ice rink, the corners of his eyes suddenly turned red, and he felt like he wanted to cry. No. You can't cry in front of him. Realizing such emotions, Mickey Bayu suddenly came back to his senses and resisted. She looked away like lightning, turned around and stepped on the skates, gliding quickly and smoothly to the other side. This action was very short, leaving only a back view to everyone. I felt that she was about to cry just now. Is she afraid to face everyone in Hokkaido? Yamamoto Daiki watched her back and left the ice rink with other girls, and couldn't help but say. Does she know you? How could she know that you are from Hokkaido? It is probably because the jump just now was not perfect, which made her feel embarrassed. Hinata was speechless when she heard his self-touching words, and complained. This guy is too narcissistic. She is a talented girl from Hokkaido. Who are you, Yamamoto? She obviously danced very beautifully. Why did she feel embarrassed? Shianalan didn't quite understand. The more powerful the person, the higher the requirements for oneself. Sato took over his girlfriend's question. It's so beautiful. Can skating be so beautiful? Akazuki Aoi couldn't help but admire. Because she has played skating, she knows how difficult it is to make such a jump on the ice. It's okay. Hitomi Matsushita is a person who never gives up, not to mention that the beautiful sister is someone her boyfriend cares about very much, so she is very stubborn. As they discussed, neither Kurosawa Hikari nor Ichino's Yuki spoke. Why did she look so wrong just now? Kurosawa Hikari was a little surprised, confused, and guilty. He was a little surprised to run into junior sister Miki, but not very worried. Because he had already stated that he had a girlfriend, although he did not formally refuse, his attitude was very clear. That's why junior sister Miki didn't dare to talk to him when they met in the camera store before. Although she walked to the side to help with the lighting under the matchmaking of the clerk, the love she showed could not be controlled, and the look she gave him was as if she was looking at the person she loved the most, and the love was so strong that it was about to be drawn. But what he didn't expect was that junior sister Miki's reaction after seeing him today was very wronged and sad, and even her eyes were red as if she was about to cry. This reaction makes people feel guilty and even more guilty. After all, he made a girl cry. In fact, Kurosawa Hikaru knew that he had hurt Miki Shiraha's heart. Because at the beginning, when she was half confessing, he pulled her back, and considering that it was better to suffer a short pain than a long one, he directly stated that he had a girlfriend, completely cutting off the relationship between the two of them. This kind of behavior of breaking his promise and going back on his word. But this was not the reason why she felt so wronged. After all, after being rejected by him, Miki Shiraha came to watch his game and even liked him more. Is it because of Yuki? But I didn't do anything close to Yuki in front of her. Forget it, I have nothing to do with her, why bother so much? Kurosawa Hikaru quickly gave up thinking. Brother Hikaru can skate, and she can too, didn't they meet at the skating rink? Ichino's Yuki didn't say anything, but after watching Miki Shiraha leave, she couldn't help but glance at Kurosawa Hikaru beside her. Maybe she mustered up the courage to ask, but Brother Hikaru's answer at that time was very vague, just saying that she liked him and he rejected her confession. What kind of story happened between the two of them is unknown. Why did Shiraha Miki almost cry and why did she turn around and leave? I'm afraid only Brother Guang knows. Brother Guang is so popular with women, Miss Fujiwara is like this, Miss Igarashi is like this, and this Miss Miki. Thinking of the figure skating performance just now and the introduction of Yamamoto Daiki, Yuki Ichino's retracted her gaze and couldn't help thinking. Recommend a friend's book I Can Attract Bad Women in the Second Round. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 362. It may be short-lived, but Miki Baiha's performance is still unsatisfactory. It's such a shame. It's such a rare opportunity to see such a professional skate. Especially Yamamoto Daiki was filled with emotion. We are both from Hokkaido, and the feeling of surprise that we could meet our childhood goddess by chance in Tokyo is hard to dissipate. She is so beautiful, just like a fairy. Why did she break her leg? She and I agreed and said with regret. Boys like to see beautiful women, but so do girls. Their looks, figure, and temperament are simply stunning. Especially hearing the story of this beautiful sister from Yamamoto Daiki is even more touching. Figure skating is a relatively dangerous ice sport. Please be more careful when playing later to avoid injury. At this moment, Kurosawa Hikaru intervened in the conversation. Skating is a sport that entertains the public. With a little practice, you can skate freely and easily on the ice and enjoy a different kind of time. But figure skating is different. It is a skating method that must combine dance and art and perform. Whether it is jumping or various movements combined with dance, it may be very eye-catching, but it is a skill that professionals can achieve after countless trainings and countless falls. If you rush into various figure skating moves without practicing diligently, although it is usually not life-threatening, you will inevitably suffer from bruises, sprains, and bruises. Good. Hearing his reminder, everyone responded with him as the leader. Maybe he didn't witness the painful lesson with his own eyes, but through the story told by Daiki Yamamoto, the case of breaking his leg directly made people stop their contemptuous attitude. It will be a while before the skating rink officially opens at 10 o'clock. As the topic was forcibly skipped, everyone was not obsessed with what happened before. I always feel that people who specialize in skating are very good looking. Aoi Shiina looked at the field and saw several people training, and couldn't help but lie on the fence and sigh. There is no music, just quiet and focused skating, with a fancy move from time to time, which is very pleasing to the eye. Apart from that, they all have good looks. They can't be called super beauties or handsome guys, but they can still be called good looking. You have a completely survivor bias impression. Sato heard this sigh and said immediately, "What is survivorship bias?" Hearing this new word, Aoi Shiina asked immediately. Well. Sato was stunned when he heard this. He saw this word while surfing the internet yesterday. Although he had read the explanation, he had taken a rough look and understood the meaning. He wanted to explain it clearly, but he couldn't. Sato, did you see a new word to use? Seeing his choked words, everyone was a little amused. Survivor bias refers to the extended logic of survival of the fittest. It means that you see the winners and ignore the existence of the losers, which is a one-sided view. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't see the joke, but answered on his behalf. One-sided view. The professionals who come to train early in the morning are usually relatively good and self-disciplined elites. It is unfounded for you to draw conclusions just because you see these good-looking people, because they cannot represent figure skating. All. Oh. After listening to his explanation, Shiina felt that he had gained a lot and gained more knowledge. A top student is a top student. He knows a lot. Seeing that his explanation was clear and logical, Chiyukui couldn't help but marveled. Yamamoto, why are you silent? Hinata teased when she saw this scene. Based on the situation just now, Yamamoto was supposed to be fighting Kurosawa go to the end today, but why did he suddenly stall out? I'm sending a message to my dad. My dad would be very happy to know that Miki Shiraha is still persisting in figure skating and will make a comeback soon. Yamamoto Daiki was holding his cell phone and clicking away, typing, and responded without raising his head. Is uncle a fan of hers? Hitomi Matsushita was a little surprised when she realized what he was doing. Our whole family is a fan of his. Don't you know that the day my dad saw the news that Miki was injured and retired, he drank 6 bottles of soju in one go and cried until the end. Yamamoto Daiki nodded, and a cheerful smile appeared on his face when he talked about his father's embarrassing things. Yamamoto, don't send random messages. Seeing his silly smile, Kurosawa Hikaru said. What do you mean by sending random news? I am reporting good news. Yamamoto Daiki, who was typing, was speechless and disappointed when he heard this, and glared at him. She didn't say she wanted to come back. What if she doesn't come back in the future? Then aren't you letting your dad be happy for nothing? It's not good to give people hope and then let them down. How can such happiness be in vain? As long as my dad knows that she is still persisting in figure skating, he will be very happy. If that's the case, then just say that you see that she is still insisting on figure skating. There is no need to say that she will come back soon. Although Kurosawa Hikaru didn't want to have anything to do with Miki Shiraba, he felt that it was not good to spread news randomly like this. He doesn't know much about Miki Senpai, he doesn't know what kind of past she has, and he doesn't know what her figure skating level is. After all, his skating skills are still in the state of experience card, and he doesn't have complete aesthetic and evaluation knowledge. I can only see what kind of action it is. But one thing he knows very well is that as a public figure, the last thing he wants is for passers-by to spread rumors. Right. After hearing such advice, Yamamoto Daiki stared at Kurosawa Hikari, hesitated for a while, nodded, and then modified the message. How famous is Miki? At this moment, Ichino's Yuki asked curiously. She had never heard of this name before, but hearing Yamamoto's introduction made people cry. It was like the end of a legend. I can't tell you exactly how famous she is. People of my age in Hokkaido basically know about her. After all, she appears in newspapers, news, and TV every once in a while. Yamamoto Daiki couldn't tell everything about this issue, he just expressed his impression. Figure skating has a high popularity rate in Nihon, and it is not an exaggeration to say it is a national-level sport. There have been many outstanding figure skaters in Nihon, and various competitions are emerging one after another. The most important thing is that athletes who become famous in figure skating can make money and have visible rewards. However, no matter what kind of field they are in, they still belong to a circle. The only difference is the size of the circle. Things that are well known to insiders are often unknown to outsiders. Miki Shiraha is so popular in Hokkaido, not because of figure skating, but because she is from Hokkaido, and she has a stunningly beautiful face that is enough to shock everyone. Coupled with the honor of being the figure skating champion, local TV stations with vigorous publicity, it can be said to be a household name. You can find out if you check online. Aoi Shiina is very familiar with this routine. Since he is a public figure, he can find it on the internet. Found it? Opening YouTube skillfully, she entered the keyword of Miki Shirao and quickly found a video. Let me see. Ichino's Yuki looked over curiously. Wow, she's so cute. Aoi Shiina watched the video without hesitation. As the picture on her phone changed, her left hand with manicure on it couldn't help but cover her mouth in amazement. How old are you? Ichino's Yuki looked around her, a little surprised. Looks so small. Sato was standing with his girlfriend, and because of his height advantage, he could see her from behind. This is the real Lolita. Chiyukui also leaned over to take a look, but couldn't help but say after just one glance. Although Hitomi Matsushita has a smaller figure, dresses more like a Lolita, and is a cute type, but it should be said that Miki Shiraha in the video is a real Lolita. This is a video of her game when she was 10 years old. Seeing that everyone was very interested, Daiki Yamamoto, the Amway person who introduced him, also took a look and recognized him instantly. Do you know her that well? Hitomi Matsushita was also watching, because Miki Shiraha in the video was super cute, and she couldn't help but find her boyfriend had the answer just by looking at it. Of course, it was through this video that I first met her. Yamamoto Daiki nodded proudly. Seeing that he was quite proud, Hitomi Matsushita couldn't help but reach out and pinch his waist hard, teaching him a secret lesson. Aren't you going to take a look? Hinata also went over to take a look, and then noticed Kurosawa Hikaru beside him. He had not moved since the beginning, so he walked over and asked curiously. People are animals that like to watch fun, let alone this group of people. No. Kurosawa Hikaru stood behind the fence, holding a pair of tourist skates behind his back. He looked at the people still skating on the field, looked back, and shook his head. Don't like Loli. Hinata saw his calm expression and asked after thinking about it. Girls are crowded together, so it's not good to run over there. Finding that he was quite thoughtful, Kurosawa Hikaru explained after hearing this. Ha ha ha. Do you mind what Yamamoto said this morning? Hinata immediately became happy after hearing this explanation. A little. Seeing him making excuses for himself, Kurosawa Hikaru just went with the flow. He didn't want to watch the video. The fundamental reason was that he didn't want to know more about Miki Bayu. When facing a bad person, the more you understand, the more disappointed you will be. The better you understand an excellent person, the easier it is to be attracted to him. Just like just now, when he learned that Miki Bayu had broken her leg, just seeing her head turning unreasonably in the direction of her jump made him feel tight and broke into a cold sweat. Don't mind it too much. You can probably tell that he's just acting like this out of jealousy. After receiving his approval, Hinata put her hand on his shoulder, patted him, and persuaded him. If I don't pay attention, if he is jealous today, it may be you and Sato next time. This is not good for everyone. Kurosawa Hikaru glanced at him and said. In fact, even if Yamamoto doesn't say a word, he will keep a distance from each girl. Calling this matter is purely a helpless choice. After all, he has been absent and late for too long. If he wants to integrate into the circle, he must have some means. Sato and I probably won't mind. Why? Because we have watched your competition and know that you are really handsome. You really can't compare, and everyone knows that Ichino's is your girlfriend. As long as you don't break up with her, I have no worries about Aoi. I have thoughts about you. Do you trust her so much? Kurosawa was a little surprised to find that he was very calm. Because I know her very well. If she knows you have a girlfriend, she will never provoke you and keep a distance from you, because she is not the kind of person who knows what's going on. Speaking of this, Hinata nodded proudly. Perhaps in relationships, Aoi has a stronger personality, and he is often taught a lesson for his shortcomings, but he can feel it firsthand that Aoi likes him. Hearing this, Kurosawa Hikaru glanced at him, then at Aoi, who was still watching the video with everyone, and nodded thoughtfully. She just saw me and Xiaoyuki together, and her first reaction was that her eyes were red and she wanted to cry. Is that the reason? She can't love her. He is not the kind of person who knows three things well. Hinata's words really reminded him. Ever since he revealed that he had a girlfriend, Miki Bayu never sent him a message again. Although she obviously likes him very much, she still keeps her distance, perhaps because of this awareness. Fair enough. After accidentally finding the answer, Kurosawa felt a little relieved. In fact, he was a little uneasy, not knowing when he had hurt her. He knows that he is not a good person, but he is not a bad person either, so he doesn't like to hurt others, even an unrelated passerby, let alone a girl like Miki Bayu who likes him. Let's go and have a look together. It's just free time anyway. Seeing his enlightened reaction, Hinata thought that the enlightenment was successful, and immediately took his arm and said. Actually, I don't want to watch it because Xiaoyuki is still here and it's not good to see other beauties in front of my girlfriend. Regarding this invitation, Kurosawa Hikaru didn't want to spoil his interest, so he simply whispered. Okay. Hinata was a little surprised when she heard this statement, and then laughed. On the other side, from the other side of the skating rink, Miki Shiraba quickly left the ice. After leaving the ice with his friends, he went to the locker room. Sitting on the bench in the locker room, Miki Bayu lowered his head and took off his skates. Bayu, are you going back so early today? There was another girl in the locker room, Miki Nishikawa, who was opening the cabinet to get something. He was a little confused when he saw her lowering her head to change her shoes. Under normal circumstances, Bayu comes to the Wiwan skating rink on weekends and holidays and plays from 7 a.m. to the official closing time of 6 p.m. before leaving. Why are you crying? What happened just now? In confusion, Nishikawa Miki discovered that Bayu had been lowering her head. She walked over and squatted in front of her to take a look. She was immediately shocked and hurriedly expressed concern. Fine. Miki Bayu lowered his head, his beautiful light blue eyes glowed with water, and the corners of his eyes were filled with mist, which turned into tears and left 2 traces of tears on his pretty face, and he shook his head. What happened? Did someone bully you? Miki Nishikawa's heart was broken when she saw her crying, and she said hurriedly. Although they are friends, it is very rude to completely prohibit her from meeting her boyfriend. But this is because she knows better than anyone else the charm and advantages of Miki Baiha. In her opinion, as long as a man meets Miki Baiu a few times, even if he has a girlfriend, he will fall in love with someone else. In order to avoid this incident from becoming the trigger of a quarrel between 2 people, he must beware. No one bullies me. Although his vision was obscured by tears and the things he saw seemed to be covered with a layer of mist, Miki Baiu did not stop taking off his shoes. She has been practicing figure skating since she was a child. Even if she closes her eyes, she can wear skates. Now, she just wants to leave this place quickly, even though this is her favorite skating rink. No one bullied you, so why are you crying, Baiu? What happened? Please tell me. Nishikawa Miki was really anxious. Fang-kun was in a panic. He grabbed her arm and stopped her from taking off her shoes to leave, and asked angrily. Because they had a match soon, she was concentrating on training and couldn't pay attention to Baiu's situation throughout the whole process, so she didn't know the situation at all. If she knew who bullied Baiu, she would definitely make that person regret it. I just failed to challenge Axel to jump. I almost fell down again. I was scared. Faced with her nervousness and worry, Miki Baiu gradually came back to his senses, hesitated for a few seconds and then lied. Judging from how excited she is now, if she is not given an explanation, she will obviously not give up. Did you fall? Let's go to the hospital. Hearing this, Nishikawa Miki felt cold and said hurriedly. No, but it was almost, but the failures again and again reminded me of the past, and I was scared. Miki Baiu noticed her concern, looked at her apologetically, and explained. It turns out it's because of this, let's go back first. Realizing that she was PTSD, Nishikawa Miki stopped asking and went along with her. After suffering such a serious injury, Baiu was willing to put on the skates again and step onto the skating rink again. He had already paid a lot of courage and love, and he couldn't ask for more. Miki, thank you. Having her understanding, Miki Baiu felt a little guilty. It's just a small matter, no need to thank me. Since I have to go back, I'll go back to get the camera first. Your SLR is quite expensive and needs to be recycled quickly. Seeing her pitiful look, Nishikawa Miki shook her head and said. Thank you for your trouble. Thinking of this, Miki Baiu nodded. She left in such a hurry just now that she forgot to take the SLR camera fixed on the sidelines to record the training situation. After deciding this, Nishikawa Miki stepped on the skates with hard plastic protective covers and slowly walked out of the locker room to get her things. I hope it won't cause him any trouble. Seeing her leave, Miki Shiraha recalled what happened just now and felt a little uneasy. Kurosawa-senpai had always disliked her and wanted to avoid her. If her crying made Kurosawa-senpai's girlfriend feel resentful and jealous, she would only hate her more. It's really uncomfortable to be hated by someone you like. Miki Shiraha, you're useless. Thinking over it, Miki Shiraha looked at the bandage on her knee, feeling a little annoyed and self-blaming. It was not easy to meet Kurosawa-senpai once, but she got red eyes as soon as they met, and when she tried to train 3A, she didn't do it well and almost fell. At the same time, Nishikawa Miki walked towards the ice rink step by step. Her steps were slow. After all, she didn't change her skates. She just put hard plastic protection on the skates for walking outside the rink. It took some time for her to finally walk from the locker room to the ice rink. Fortunately, it's still early, and there aren't many people. When she arrived at the ice rink, Miki Nishikawa saw the SLR camera fixed outside the rink, recording an area, and breathed a sigh of relief. This SLR camera was bought by Bayu after saving up money for a long time. If it was stolen, it would be a heavy loss. Recovery successful. Walking closer and taking down the SLR camera, Miki Nishikawa folded the fixed bracket and put the things in the bag beside her, very happy. After picking up a big bag, she straightened up and planned to go back. But at this moment, a figure suddenly broke into her eyes, attracting her to look. Across the ice rink, there was a group of people gathered at the fence on the other side. And among that group of people, there was a person with an extremely strong presence. With black hair like ink, deep and handsome features, he was just standing in front of the fence, without any action, he was already the focus. Senior Kurosawa. Miki Nishikawa looked at him a few more times and was surprised. Hikaru Kurosawa, a sophomore at Tokyo University and a student of economics, is a celebrity at Tokyo University. Because shortly after the summer vacation, he represented Tokyo University in the archery competition and won the national championship. He was just the champion of a competition, and it was not an academic competition, so he was not famous throughout the school. The key was that his performance on the field was so brilliant that it was spread wildly by Tokyo University alumni, especially among girls. She thought she would have to wait until the end of summer vacation and the start of the new semester to see Senior Kurosawa, but she didn't expect to meet him in such a place. The reason why Bayu cried, could it be because she saw him? After the surprise, Miki Nishikawa's heartstrings trembled, and she suddenly thought of a possibility. As a student at Tokyo University, her mind is very smart. Although she believed what Bayu said, seeing Senior Kurosawa's appearance made her have to think more. You know, there is a story between Miki Bayu and Senior Kurosawa. For example, Miki Bayu waited for Senior Kurosawa at the school gate, and the two went to a cafe together. And on the first day of the Kyoto tournament, Miki Shiraha waited for Senior Kurosawa at the entrance of the martial arts hall. Such rumors are not fabricated, but witnessed by someone. Perhaps such rumors are not very influential, but Miki Shiraha is her friend, so someone has asked her for confirmation, so it is hard not to know. Could it be that Senior Kurosawa abandoned Shiraha? Thinking of such rumors, and recalling Shiraha's sad look, when Miki Nishikawa saw the beautiful girls next to Kurosawa Hikaru, her surprised eyes suddenly turned cold. Updated. Let me explain here, although it has become one update per day, the actual number of words updated is the same as the previous 2 updates per day, and there will be no shortage of words. In addition, the New Year's things will be done in a few days, and I should be able to add more updates next week. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 363. The Dressing Room of Wiwin Skating Rink. Bring it back. Nishikawa Miki opened the door, holding a luggage bag in her hand. Thank you, Miki. Miki Shiraya, who had already changed out of his skates and costume and put on a white dress, stood up immediately. The so-called costume refers to the performance clothing of figure skating. This kind of clothing is usually not for sports, but for artistry, and it usually looks good. Carrying her luggage bag, Nishikawa Miki looked at Miki Shirayu's face, speechless. Because it took a long time to run back and get things, Bayu stopped crying and calmed down completely. She likes white skirts, but her figure is thin. Both her arms and legs are very slender and graceful, giving people a feeling of weakness that will fall down if the wind blows, which is pitiful. What's wrong? Facing her gaze, Miki Bayu felt a little guilty and took the initiative to speak. I just met Kurosawa-senpai. Looking at her beautiful appearance, Nishikawa Miki said suddenly. As soon as he finished speaking, Miki Bayu's expression and body froze. As expected, you were crying just now, not because you failed in the challenge, but because of him. Seeing her reaction like an electric shock, Nishikawa Miki found the answer. Perhaps she met Shiraha Miki at an academic school like Tokyo University and had the opportunity to become friends with her. It didn't take long. But she had heard of Miki Bayu's name many years ago, read her story, and became her fan. She is also a figure skater, but she is far from as good as Miki Shiraha, and unlike her who became famous at a young age, she just uses it as a hobby and turns it into a passion. But even if it is just a hobby, she has been in the figure skating circle for many years and knows many ups and downs. Putting aside everything else, there was one thing she was sure of. Miki Bayha looks weak and fragile on the surface, but in fact she is stronger than anyone else. Even though she experienced the Waterloo of her career, when she suffered a knee injury during private training instead of a public competition, she still did not give up figure skating. A normal person would have been crushed by such a cruel blow, but she did not break into pieces. Instead, she stood up again and persisted in figure skating. What is awe-inspiring is that even though she suffered severe knee trauma, Miki Shiraha's figure skating skills are still far better than hers. This is talent, perseverance, and the result of hard work. As long as she comes to the skating rink, except for resting every hour, Miki Bayha will stay at the skating rink all day long. She enjoys the time on the ice rink. She loves figure skating more than anyone else. Faced with failure again and again, she has never been discouraged. Instead, she has stood up again and again and bravely challenged. She is eager to stand on the stage of figure skating competition again. That's why Miki Nishikawa was so shocked when she heard Bayu say that she failed to challenge 3A. It was actually very unreasonable, just out of trust, she believed it without thinking. If she left the skating rink like this, she would always believe this answer, but then she met Kurosawa senpai. As a scholar, everything must be based on evidence. Bayu's current wavering is evidence. Sorry. Facing her unwavering gaze, Miki Bayu realized that the lie had been exposed and was speechless. After a long silence, he chose to apologize. What happened between you and him? Nishikawa Miki's eyes were very angry, but her anger was not because of Miki Shiraha's lies, but because of her crying just now. She couldn't imagine what happened between Kurosawa Hikaru and Miki Shiraha to lead to such a situation. Chaos at first, abandonment at the end. Hikaru Kurosawa played with Bayu's body and mind, and then ruthlessly abandoned her. This was the only possibility she could think of. Bayu is a very naive and lonely girl. She is not deeply involved in the world, has never been in love, and does not have many friends around her. Such girls are easily deceived by men. Nothing happened. Facing her question, Miki Bayu shook his head. This was the fact, even though she didn't want to see this happen, but it had to be the case. Their story was strangled in the cradle before it even began. Bayu, I am your friend. If he bullies you, you can tell me and I will make him pay the price. Seeing that she was still hiding the matter, Nishikawa Miki suddenly became anxious, put down her luggage bag, took a few steps forward and said, "Pay the price." Facing her strong approach, Miki Bayu was a little confused. Isn't he a famous archery genius now? If people know that he is a scumbag who plays with women's emotions, everyone's pursuit of him will turn into contempt. By then, no matter how high he stands, he will fall. How painful it is. Nishikawa Miki nodded heavily, and the corners of her mouth curved into a mocking arc. Miki, nothing really happened between me and him. He is not a scumbag who plays with women. Don't mess around. Seeing her serious and crazy look, Miki Bayu came back to his senses and immediately panicked. Please wake up, don't do stupid things. He hurt you, bullied you, and now he is having so much fun with other girls. Why are you defending him? If you don't dare to retaliate against him, tell him I'm fine, I'll help you. Nishikawa Miki found that she was still stubborn and felt very sad. He grabbed her arm and enlightened her. She has heard of such cases before, where a woman was hurt by a scumbag and still didn't regret it. She was even betrayed by a scumbag. She thought that she was not good enough and the other party left her, and she was completely unaware of the other party's fault. She originally thought that such an extremely stupid woman would only be seen on the internet. She never expected that she would appear in front of her eyes. Mickey, you misunderstood. Nothing really happened between me and him. I only met him a few times. He didn't hurt me or cheat on me. Faced with her attitude of hating iron but not steel, Mickey Bayou, who finally suppressed his inner grievances, was really anxious to death. If we don't stop Mickey and let her get deeper into trouble, run out and talk nonsense, causing trouble for Kurosawa-senpai, it will be over. If nothing really happened, then why did you cry when you saw him? Why did you turn around and run away after seeing him? Nishikawa Miki was even more anxious than she was. Seeing that she still refused to admit it, she asked. This situation forced her to think this way. Kurosawa Hikaru was a heartless man, and Bayou was a poor person who was abandoned after being played with both physically and mentally. Because I like him, but he doesn't like me. Faced with her aggressive questioning, Mickey Bayou was also forced to speak loudly. This shout was very loud, completely different from her usual gentle and light voice. Real. Nishikawa Miki choked when she heard the words. When she realized the meaning of these words, her eyes widened in disbelief. Real. Forced to reveal his true feelings, Mickey Bayou recovered from his excitement, met her incredible gaze, and nodded. Although it is very embarrassing and shameful to express your feelings for someone, but it is worth it to be able to control Mickey, who is about to go berserk. He didn't play with your body and mind, like breaking up with you after he slept with you and got tired of you. Nishikawa Miki was a little stunned, but still felt unbelievable. Are you kidding me? Are there any men in this world who don't like Bayou? Not to mention a man, even a girl, when she saw Bayou, she loved him to death. Having been in love 3 times, she knows very well what boys like and think. A girl like Bayou, who looks cute and beautiful, is cute, weak, and sick, and has a tragic past. If you know more about her, she can inspire the protective desire of boys to the maximum extent. She is definitely in line with all neon men. Preferences. No, I haven't even touched his hand. Mickey Bayou shook his head bitterly. Since you like him, shouldn't you be happy when you see him? Why are you crying? Is it because you saw him with other girls? You didn't know he had a girlfriend and he cheated on you. After thinking about it, Nishikawa Miki still felt it was unreasonable. He didn't lie to me, I know he has a girlfriend. I cry because of what happened before. He hates me. To this question, Mickey Bayou could only answer truthfully in order to dispel her unnecessary thoughts. Did he tell you personally that he hates you? Hearing this, Nishikawa Miki raised her eyebrows, feeling a little anxious and angry. This is too much, saying that you hate a girl who likes you. That's not true. Mickey Bayou shook his head. Why do you think Kurosawa-senpai hates you? What happened? Realizing that things were not what she thought, Nishikawa Miki gradually calmed down, sat down on the bench, and asked. Before me. Faced with her cross-examination, Mickey Bayou also truthfully told the truth about the second encounter in the camera store. When he found out that he was going to be alone with you, he hurriedly ran away with the male clerk. Do you think he was avoiding you and hating you, and you even cried? After learning about the arrival of Long, Nishikawa Miki looked at her in surprise. No, when did the white-feathered little angel become so fragile? Is it because she is a princess on the ice rink, not a princess in love, so her defense is very low? It's not just that, it's just that when I helped him with the lamp, he didn't say thank you, just looked at me one more time, and avoided me. I felt very wronged and angry. In short, it's hard to explain clearly. Facing her strange gaze, Mickey Bayou felt a little bit hot and didn't know what to say. She knew that she was very unsatisfactory and useless, but because of this kind of thing, she was about to cry when she saw the boss. He's avoiding you because he has a girlfriend, you're avoiding him because you're angry. Feeling aggrieved. Although she couldn't explain clearly, Nishikawa Miki was a practical person who had been in love and could roughly understand her thoughts. The main reason is that I saw that he couldn't hold it back, and I felt like I was about to cry. I didn't want his girlfriend to misunderstand, cause him trouble, and make him hate me even more. Miki Bayu nodded and added. Aren't you too selfless? Knowing her true thoughts, Nishikawa Miki looked at her and felt like she was looking at a novel creature. Although she knows that no matter how smart a girl is, she will become stupid once she falls in love, but it is still very strange to be stupid to this extent. Maybe this is a girl who has just started to fall in love. Selfless. Miki Bayu was a little puzzled by this comment. That's right, how can anyone hate you in this world? Finding that she didn't understand, Nishikawa Miki didn't explain much, but breathed a sigh of relief. There are a lot of people who hate me. Miki Bayu didn't agree with this statement and frowned slightly. For example, those who lost to me in the competition, and the girls in the same class, they always felt that I stole their sweethearts and that I caused them to break up with their boyfriends. So have you ever met a boy who hates you? Maybe not. After being questioned to this point, Miki Bayu thought about it carefully and had no impression. That's right. With your appearance and personality, it's absolutely impossible for any boy to hate you, including Kurosawa-senpai. He probably thinks you are dangerous, so he avoids you. Nishikawa Miki came to the conclusion categorically, and the onlookers clearly speculated. If Bayu is the kind of girl who looks good but has a bad personality, it wouldn't be surprising if some boys hate her. But the problem is that Bayu is very beautiful, very good, and has a good personality. As long as she doesn't do anything that makes people and gods angry, there is no way she will be disliked by boys. Why does he think I'm dangerous? Hearing such speculation, Miki Bayu didn't understand very much. Girls will be afraid that you will steal their boyfriends, and boys will also be afraid that your appearance will cause him to change his mind and break up with his girlfriend. Kurosawa-senpai is too dedicated. He should love his girlfriend very much. So I am afraid of you and have to keep my distance from you. Oh. Miki Bayu was thoughtful when he heard these words. To put it more bluntly, Kurosawa-senpai knows that you are beautiful and charming, but he is afraid that he will fall in love with you and that he will change his heart, so he avoids you. Seeing that she did not understand the true meaning of these words, Miki Nishikawa was not afraid to speak. She is so confident about Bayu. Even though the other party is Senior Kurosawa, the dream lover of countless girls at Dongda University, who is handsome, temperamental, and capable of both civil and military skills, Bayu is not the same. Is that so? After hearing this interpretation, Miki Bayu suddenly turned from sadness to joy, the haze in his heart was swept away, and a smile bloomed on his face. That's it? Your previous thoughts were too pessimistic. How could any boy hate you? Sitting on the bench, Miki Nishikawa felt relieved and speechless when she saw her bright and charming smile. Facing her gaze, Miki Bayu did not respond, but fell into deep thought. It's not that she is too pessimistic. In fact, she knows that she is very beautiful. After all, since she was a child, no matter where she goes, there is no shortage of suitors around her. It was precisely because of this that she had bravely struck out before and wanted to take the initiative to pursue him. It's just that Kurosawa-senpai is too good, a genius at piano and archery, and he even rejected her. That's why she is so pessimistic. What are you going to do? Seeing her happy look, Nishikawa Miki felt helpless and simply asked. How to do it? You know he has a girlfriend, but you still like him. What are you going to do? Nishikawa Miki could tell that she didn't want to give up this love. I want to wait for him. Before that, I want to get better. Opportunities are always reserved for those who are prepared. Regarding this matter, Mickey Bayu has already had an idea. Wait until he breaks up with his girlfriend. Right. What if they don't break up? What if they get married? Then do you want to wait for him to divorce? Do you expect the man to have problems, or the woman to have problems? Are you going to stand by and wait like this? Nishikawa Miki didn't expect her idea to be so naive, so she asked immediately. Then what else can I do? He has a girlfriend, I can't rob her, can I? Miki Bayu was helpless when faced with such questions. Now is the era of free love. They are just dating, not getting married. Why can't they rob each other? Miki Nishikawa disagrees with this statement. In this world, countless loving couples have broken up, and there are countless divorce cases. Today's era is no longer a time to settle down. That's not good. Kurosawa Senpai is so good. If I take him away, his girlfriend will be very sad. Miki Bayu shook her head. She knew that someone else had a girlfriend and still wanted to steal it. She couldn't do such a cruel thing. If you do nothing and fulfill them, then who will fulfill you? Happiness will not come to your door, you must take the initiative to pursue it. Seeing her innocent look, Nishikawa Miki simply used words to induce her. Then have you ever actively pursued happiness? Have you ever stolen someone else's boyfriend? Faced with her temptation, Miki Bayu was a little moved, but he still stuck to his heart and asked. Well. As soon as these words came out, Nishikawa Miki was immediately turned against the general and was speechless. With her conditions, it would be very easy to have a boyfriend. After all, she comes from a wealthy family and has practiced figure skating since she was a child. Whether it is temperament, appearance, or figure, they are all influenced by skating and dancing, as well as serious reading and study, and she is very outstanding. To put it bluntly, she doesn't even need to pursue him, boys will pursue her. She just needs to choose the one she likes among the many suitors. It's like trying to steal someone else's boyfriend. There's no such option. I don't know if they will break up, but I only know one thing. If they will stay together until they get married, it means that he and I are destined to be destined. If they will break up, it means that I wait for it. Seeing that she couldn't do it, Miki Bayu expressed his inner thoughts. That's what I say, but you can't wait in vain, you have to at least wait for him closer, otherwise you won't even know he broke up. Realizing that she was very particular about fate, Nishikawa Miki couldn't change her view on love, so she just suggested. The thinking of liberal arts students is always more emotional, and they always have better illusions about fate and love. Somewhere closer. At least it can't be like now, where we avoid each other once we meet. Then what should I do? Start with friends, you know, the first thing to get close to water is the moon. Then what should I do now? Miki Bayu has no experience in love and has few friends, so he doesn't know much about this situation. Why don't you teach him how to skate? He came to the skating rink early in the morning, obviously wanting to skate. You are so good, as a schoolgirl, an alumnus, and a figure skating genius, teach them. What if Kurosawa Senpai can skate and doesn't need anyone to teach him? And he is with his girlfriend. If I run over, he might make his girlfriend jealous. Why don't we hide aside and check the situation first? Let's not leave in a hurry and act as the situation arises. Good. Miki Bayu was convinced by her. You can't say hello, and you can't go over to teach. You can just hide and watch, and that should be fine. And she was also curious about how Kurosawa Senpai would behave when he came to the skating rink. Regaining their energy, they packed up their things and put them away, then put on their daily shoes and headed to the ice rink. By the way, who is Kurosawa Senpai's girlfriend? Along the way, Nishikawa Miki suddenly remembered something and asked. As the saying goes, if you know yourself and the enemy, you will be victorious in every battle. Although Bayu doesn't want to fight head-on, she and Bayu are on a united front. JK, clothing model. It's really good. Upon hearing these two labels, Nishikawa Miki immediately felt the difficulty of her opponent. JK means young. Model means beautiful. Not long after, they arrived at the house outside the aisle of the ice rink. The skating rink is very large, with entrances and exits in all directions, connecting various areas. Kurosawa Hikaru and his group were still there, but no one was skating on the rink. The staff of the ice rink were pushing machines and holding ice buckets to compress and replenish the ice in preparation for the official opening of the skating rink. That blonde girl is Kurosawa-senpai's girlfriend. Nishikawa Miki poked her head out from the door slightly, looked at the group of people opposite, and recognized them at a glance. There are 8 people in that group. Although everyone has a unique appearance and can be called handsome and beautiful, in terms of presence, 2 people have a particularly strong sense of presence. Just by standing there, they are destined to attract attention. Right. Different from being unprepared just now, Miki Bayu's mood was relatively stable this time because he was mentally prepared. She looks so beautiful. After receiving this affirmation, Nishikawa Miki looked at it carefully for a few times, then looked at Miki Bayu beside her, and couldn't help but say. Even though her facial features were not particularly clear from across the ice rink, she was still stunned. Even under the dim lights of the ice rink, the long golden wavy hair naturally fell down, and the slight curls were like stacks of waves. The hairstyle and color alone were so beautiful. Her facial features are very beautiful, like a carved porcelain doll, perfect and impeccable. A pair of blue eyes, particularly beautiful, as crystal clear as gems, with a slight smile at the corner of his mouth, looking very bright and energetic. Although the lower half of her body was blocked by the fence and her whole body could not be seen, even so, her lower body gave off a particularly sweet feeling that made people want to protect her. This appearance is so stunning. She is the kind of super beautiful girl who is hard to see and will be amazed at the first sight. This is her without makeup. She is even more beautiful with makeup. Miki Bayu didn't have time to look more just now, but now he finally saw the front, nodded with deep sympathy, and explained. No makeup? No way. Nishikawa Miki was shocked. She was so beautiful without makeup. Isn't that too outrageous? It may be that she is wearing light makeup and is too far away to see clearly, but this is not her best condition. Miki Bayu realized that his wording was wrong and added again. Have you seen her wearing makeup? Nishikawa Miki was a little curious. In response to this question, Miki Bayu took out his mobile phone, opened Twitter skillfully, clicked on a page, and handed it to her. A girl with a sisterly figure, a strong rival. When Nishikawa Miki saw the photos on her phone, she was stunned at first sight. Her temperament, appearance, outfit, and eyes were simply stunning and beautiful. No wonder Kurosawa-senpai likes her so much. Her appearance is simply unparalleled and not inferior to Bayu's. But the photos are all fake. They can be photoshopped and cannot be counted. Then, Nishikawa Miki reacted and felt that what she said was too demoralizing, and added. There is a professional photographer in the comment area who said that this is an unretouched photo, that is, a photo that has not been processed in any way. Miki Shiraha comforted her and hoped that this was the case, but she knew that this was impossible. Why is she back? Kurosawa Hikaru has a good hearing. Although he can't hear the conversation clearly across the ice rink, after all, there is still the roar of the ice pressing machine, but he can still hear some movement vaguely and can't help but look over. Ichi knows Yuki is very sensitive to sight. As long as someone is staring at her, she will feel it. She subconsciously raised her eyes and saw 2 people in the ice rink house opposite. Is she back again? Seeing this scene, Ichi knows Yuki couldn't help but be alert. Let me say it again, although it is the first update now, it is equivalent to the previous 2 updates. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 364. In a professional skating rink, staff will clear the ice every 2 hours, repair the ice surface and press the ice. Taking advantage of this gap, everyone temporarily left the ice rink and put on skates. What a strange feeling. Yuki Ichino's wore skates with hard plastic covers and took 2 tentative steps. It looks like a shoe, but it's not very similar. It's like walking on 2 long boards. Although it can maintain balance, it feels strange. The skates used by tourists are like this. It will be fun to remove the plastic sleeves when you go on the field. This is not the first time Shianai has come to play, but she is used to it. The skates used by tourists are different from the skates bought by yourself. After all, the former is a universal type and the latter is an adaptive type. How are you going to compete later? Speed skating or figure skating? Sato asked while changing his skates. In the field of skating, speed skating and figure skating are 2 completely different sports. Among the major winter sports, short track speed skating and figure skating have the highest ratings and the most attention. Speed skating focuses on competition, while figure skating focuses on performance. They are both highly enjoyable events. Both are fine. You don't need to compete at the beginning. You can wait for him to warm up first and get familiar with him before competing. Putting on the skates skillfully, Yamamoto Daiki is very confident. In terms of skating, he also signed up for skating classes when he was a child and practiced for several years. Maybe he doesn't have the talent to develop professionally, after all, he is a young man, but he is still very strong, better than many people. Are you so kind? Kurosawa, who was also wearing skates, looked at him in surprise. I don't want to beat you, and you said that I haven't skated for a long time, so I'm a bit unfamiliar with this excuse for not admitting defeat. Yamamoto Daiki glanced at him and said lightly. Let's compete in speed skating later, while there aren't many people and the place is empty. Facing his pride, Kurosawa smiled and said. It was a rare time to come to the skating rink. Although he didn't plan to accompany Miki Bayu on a date to do tasks, he still had the experience card for the skill of skating, so he just took this opportunity to experience the fun of skating. We'll compete in speed skating first. Do you plan to compete in both? After hearing this statement, Yamamoto Daiki understood what he meant and confirmed. Any questions? Both are competing. If one wins and the other loses, how do we determine the winner? Then let's use speed skating to determine the winner. This is the most intuitive. Figure skating is more difficult to distinguish. Good. Yamamoto Daiki agrees with this competition. As the two discussed the content of the game, others were watching and did not interrupt. After deciding on the matter, everyone set off. When we came to the ice rink again, the staff was already entering the final stage and gradually leaving the ice. Coming. With their return, Nishikawa Miki was looking forward to seeing the level of Kurosawa-senpai and the others. Although she felt that the level was not very high, if it was very bad, they would have a chance to appear. Have we been discovered? Why don't we leave? Miki Bayu stuck his head out and glanced at the opposite side. He always felt that Kurosawa-senpai and his girlfriend were facing this way, so they couldn't help but retreat. No way, it's so far away, don't you want to see them skating? It's not too late to leave after watching. Nishikawa Miki didn't care about this. It didn't matter even if she was discovered. This was a public place and she wasn't peeping into other people's privacy. At the same time, after confirming with the staff, Kurosawa Hikaru and his team took off the hard plastic protective covers that were used to walk on the ground and officially took the stage. It feels really good. Stepping on the ice blade and standing steadily on the smooth ice rink, Kurosawa Hikari seemed to have a feeling of returning home, emerging from his body. Experience cards are different from permanent skills. They must be used in applicable situations to activate their power. It may have been on the ice, but he felt as if he was walking on flat ground. Ah! At this moment, Yuki Ichinose also walked onto the smooth ice rink, but before she could start skating, she felt her body was out of balance and fell forward. Kurosawa Hikaru, who had been wary for a long time, saw her condition and stretched out his arm to catch her waist to avoid falling. "Don't be anxious, take your time and hold on to the fence to get used to it." Kurosawa Hikaru helped her stand upright and comforted her. Skating and swimming have one thing in common: they are not land sports. The former will cause you to fall out of balance, and the latter will be submerged in water. They all have different risks. Beginners must take their time. Aha! Ichinose Yuki raised her head and saw his reliable appearance, and was very moved. She felt a sense of security and nodded obediently. Is this guy not bluffing, but can he actually skate? Seeing this scene, Yamamoto Daiki, who also came on the court and slid a few meters away, couldn't help but look sideways. Helping others on the ice rink and doing so smoothly requires a little skill, but not much. After all, they were wearing tourist figure skates, not professional competitive speed skating skates. However, from the calm attitude of Kurosawa Hikaru when he is on the ice rink, it is enough to tell that he can skate and has skated a lot. After all, when ordinary people come to the ice rink, it is almost like ordinary people swimming. The feeling of discomfort is obvious. Do you want to warm up first? Get a feel for it? After helping Xiaoyuki to stand beside the fence, Kurosawa Hikaru looked at Yamamoto Daiki. No, let's start the game directly. Faced with such counterattacks and provocations, Yamamoto Daiki knew that he could skate and put away his thoughts of contempt. In this game, there may be no financial loss in terms of bets, but in a circle, face is far more important than a little money. He wants to prove that he is indeed inferior to Kurosawa in some areas, but in some areas, he is still better than Kurosawa. Then let's start, speed skating around the outer circle. How many laps do you want to skate? Kurosawa Hikaru looked around the ice rink and asked. 3 laps. You designate the starting line. Just there. Yamamoto Daiki pointed to a red cylinder not far away to distinguish the outer and inner circles of the ice rink. After that, he couldn't help but move his feet and slid over smoothly and quickly. Maybe it was because he was tall, but his movements on the ice were light. When he came to the starting point, he stopped just in front of the cylinder on the side of his feet. Shiina, you will count down later. Seeing this scene, Kurosawa Hikaru was not in a hurry. He just said a word and followed closely. The feeling of stepping on an ice blade is completely different from the feeling of walking or running. You only need to swing your legs once to glide very far. Call me Lan. Hearing this unfamiliar name, Shiina saw him running away and shouted unhappily. I'm ready. Arriving at the parallel line in front of the cylinder, Kurosawa Hikaru glanced at Yamamoto Daiki occupying the inside line and didn't care. I'm ready. Yamamoto Daiki also shouted when he heard this. Kurosawa versus Yamamoto, the speed skating competition is about to begin. Countdown. Let Shiina host and countdown, which is really in line with her expertise, shouting at the top of her lungs. She already has a loud voice, and she is even more experienced in cheering up people and cheering her up. Such a big movement directly attracted everyone's attention and realized that they were competing for speed skating. Upon hearing these words, Kurosawa Hikaru lowered his body slightly and began to make preparations. To be honest, the outcome and penalty of this duel were of no importance to him. What's more, it doesn't matter if he loses a game on purpose. His personality is not that competitive. For example, he lost to Hinata and Sato so that they could perform well in front of their girlfriends, but he didn't want to lose in front of Yamamoto. 3. As the countdown started to sound, Yamamoto Daiki lowered his body slightly, tensed and relaxed his body, adjusted his breathing, and was fully prepared. 2. 1. As soon as the words rang out, Yamamoto Daiki's feet suddenly swung, and with several consecutive left and right swings, he rushed out at the lead. He was huge but moved very fast, like a tank charging. He concentrated on it, went all out, and didn't dare to slack off at all. He wanted to beat Kurosawa no matter what. He can't read books, he can't shoot archery, and if he can't even compare to his best ice sport, then if Hitomi compares Kurosawa to him in the future, he will really have nothing to say. Are you following so closely? Continuing to lead, although Yamamoto Daiki did not see Hikaru Kurosawa from the side, he heard the sound of two ice skates cutting across the ice. One voice was his, and the other was Kurosawa's voice. He was following closely behind like a shadow. Can't make a mistake. Get rid of him at the first corner. Realizing this, Yamamoto Daiki looked nervously at the first bend ahead and began to accelerate as if facing a formidable enemy. This distance is too close. As long as he makes one mistake, he will be surpassed. Having said that, he is very confident when it comes to speed skating corners. Because of his long hands and long legs, using fubing to break through corners is his strength. Fastness is only when the curves are fast, and no one knows how to speed up in a straight line. Even if they are not professional racing skates but figure skates, even so, when a person is skilled in using skates, he can move faster on the ice than running and sprinting. In the blink of an eye, Yamamoto Daiki came to the corner, accelerated, leaned his body, and wore palm support for warmth and protection to support his body to prevent falling. No mistakes. As he started to move skillfully, he felt that he had succeeded in turning this time, and he was very happy in his heart. But before he could be happy for long, a black shadow suddenly rushed out from the side. The next moment, before he could rush out of the corner, the black figure straightened up again, swung his legs and began to accelerate. When he passed the bend and straightened up to accelerate, the figure had already put some distance between him and him. How can this be? Seeing that silhouette, Yamamoto Daiki's expression was shocked, and he felt frustrated as if his weapon had been destroyed. Taking advantage of the first corner and overtaking Yamamoto Daiki, Kurosawa rushed to the front and finally accelerated without any scruples. Because it was not a professional competition, it was just an impromptu competition. Kurosawa Hikaru did not have a full set of weapons. As he continued to accelerate, he felt extremely strong wind resistance. Even so, he bent down and put his hands behind his back, like a sharp knife, piercing the air. Perhaps the skill of skating is a trial card, not permanent, and it is entry level, but his physical fitness is too strong, and his control over the body is also very strong. As long as he masters the various techniques of skating, with the blessing of an absolutely strong body, he can exert the power of 1 add 1 greater than 2. No longer needing to worry about hitting people, Kurosawa Hikari accelerated wantonly, wanting to try how fast he could be. The distance between the two people is constantly being pulled apart at a speed visible to the naked eye. What's more terrifying is that every time they encounter a bend, their distance will be thrown away. Brother Hikari is so amazing. Seeing this scene, Ichino's Yuki was very excited. Wow, Kurosawa's E's turning speed is so fast. Seeing this scene, she and Alan couldn't help but exclaim and cheer. Because they have been to the skating rink twice, everyone knows how powerful Yamamoto is. It is precisely because she found out that when she drew the skating rink in the lottery, she would speak up for Kurosawa's EE and felt that the chances of winning are slim. But now, Yamamoto, who seemed to them to be very powerful and invincible, could not even get the tail gas in front of Kurosawa Hikaru. Such a big gap has opened up in the first lap, it seems that the winner has been decided. Sato watched Kurosawa Hikaru go around the skating rink, rush through the red barrel at the starting point again, and enter the second lap. He looked at Yamamoto, who was left far behind, and said in astonishment. He thought that this duel would be a complete victory for Yamamoto. Even if Kurosawa could skate, it would be good to be able to keep up with Yamamoto's speed. But what was beyond expectation was that this game was a one-sided crush by Kurosawa. Is this a genius? Hinata looked at Kurosawa on the ice rink and felt astonished. When they met for the first time, Kurosawa Hikaru claimed that he was a student of the University of Tokyo, which was already a big news, but he was also very good at singing, even at the level of a professional singer, and he gave everyone a concert directly in the karaoke. When they met for the second time, Kurosawa Hikaru stood on the super big stage of the Neon Budokan, holding a Japanese bow in his hand with an attitude of supremacy, crushing the whole audience. This is the third time they met. He is not only good at skating, but also better than Yamamoto, and the gap is not a little bit. Such Kurosawa gave him the feeling that no matter what, he only needed to make a slight move to crush ordinary people. Is Senior Kurosawa so good at skating? He is so fast even in figure skates. At the same time, on the other side of the ice rink, Miki Nishikawa was stunned. Maybe there was no timer, and the opponent's strength was not very good, but she liked skating since she was a child, and she watched every Winter Olympics in full, and even went to the scene once. That's why she could see that Senior Kurosawa was very fast, at least 40 kilometers per hour. In fact, such a speed is not the limit or exaggeration for professional speed skaters. But the problem is that Senior Kurosawa is wearing figure skates, or skates for tourists. If he is given a pair of speed skating racing shoes, wouldn't it be faster? Miki Bayu didn't say anything, but just stuck her head out from the door, her eyes closely following Kurosawa Hikaru's figure, as if she was glued to him. Is he so good at skating? Looking at him on the ice, his calm and confident figure, Miki Bayu's beautiful light blue eyes were extremely hot. For her, Senior Kurosawa was already very handsome and charming. He can play the piano, romantic and gorgeous. He can do the archery, elegant and handsome. He is very special, and his every move, frown, and smile seems to sparkle. The most important thing is that there is an invisible and intangible fate between the two of them, but it can be felt. Now, he can actually skate, and he skates so well. If they are together, the two can practice pair figure skating together. If they are together, the two can do many things together. Following that figure, just when she was obsessed with it and her imagination was running wild, a golden figure broke into her eyes. After noticing this, Shiraha Miki subconsciously looked over and saw Yuki Ichino's. It's a pity there's no if. Seeing the existence of this legitimate girlfriend, Shiraha Miki's restless and fanatical mind instantly cooled down. Perhaps her character is very frank, and she knows what she wants. In order to pursue it, she will take action and courage to fight for it. But the problem is that Senior Kurosawa has a girlfriend. Unlike the champion, she really can't fight for this matter, and can only wait and see. Maybe she can rely on her appearance, specialties, and charm to seduce Senior Kurosawa, but this won't work. If Senior Kurosawa abandons Yuki Ichino's for her, then he may also abandon her for other girls. Can I just wait? After thinking about it, Shiraha Miki retracted her gaze and looked at Kurosawa Hikaru, who was speed skating on the ice rink, with hope in her heart. Facing the current situation, she can't do anything. She can only wait for Senior Kurosawa to return to being single. As long as such an opportunity comes, she will definitely pursue it recklessly. The winner was decided in the first round, and Yuki Ichino's mind was not entirely on the competition. When the rivals meet, they are particularly jealous. Even if there is no quarrel, the existence of Miki Bayu still makes her extremely concerned. Why doesn't Guang brother like her? Across the ice rink, Ichino's Yuki could feel the sincere love of Miki Shiraha and felt confused. She was originally alert because Miki Shiraha was so beautiful. Her white hair was so beautiful that it seemed like something out of this world. It was dreamy and beautiful. Especially after watching the video of Miki Shiraha participating in the competition when she was 10 years old, she fully realized that this girl was just like Kwang Ji's other two girlfriends. She was a beautiful girl who was shining from the inside out. But after continuous observation, she found that Miki Shiraha's threat did not seem to be as big as she imagined. This figure skating genius did not even dare to walk directly to the fence outside the ice rink to watch the game. He only dared to hide and carefully peek at Kwang Ji. What happened between Kwang Ji and her? Because there was no threat, Ichino's Yuki recalled that when Miki Shiraha saw Kwang Ji just now, her first reaction was grievance and sadness, and she was about to cry. She couldn't help but be a little concerned. Such a reaction and emotion could definitely not have happened. Besides, Kwang Ji is so good at skating, and this Miki Bayu is a figure skating genius. Maybe they knew each other a long time ago. Could she be Kwang Ji's first love? But she once hurt Kwang Ji deeply, and Kwang Ji broke up with her. She wanted to get back together, but Kwang Ji didn't want to care about her anymore. Thinking in a whirlwind, Ichino's Yuki looked at Miki Bayu opposite her, with strange ideas in her mind. Smart men will keep silent about their ex-girlfriends. Maybe Kwang Ji once said that she was just a junior, they had met a few times, and the relationship was not very good, and he clearly rejected her confession. But Miki Bayu's reaction seemed far from that simple. Kwang Ji was obviously a playboy, but he rejected such a good girl. It was really strange. But if Miki Bayu had hurt Kwang Ji, then everything could be explained. Soon, Kurosawa Hikari skated 3 times around the perimeter of the ice rink and arrived at the finish line. Kurosawa, you are awesome. Seeing Kurosawa Hikaru stop after the finish line, she and Alan couldn't help cheering. Invincible. Sato also applauded. Faced with their praise, Kurosawa Hikaru smiled, slid down, and went to their side. Xiao Yuki, I won. Coming to the fence, Kurosawa Hikaru leaned slightly on the handrail and looked at Ichino's Yuki. Brother Hikaru is awesome. Ichino's Yuki came to her senses and realized that the game was over, and immediately applauded. This reaction made Kurosawa Hikaru look sideways. I always felt that she looked absent-minded, her attitude was a little perfunctory, and she was not happy about her victory. Is it because of her? While thinking, Kurosawa Hikaru subconsciously looked at the opposite side and saw the white that was hastily hiding. Perhaps everyone in the hot girl circle knows that Shiraha Miki is a figure skating genius. But in Xiao Yuki's view, Shiraha Miki is a love rival. It doesn't matter if you don't see it normally, but if you see it, it's hard not to be jealous and care. What's more, when he was speed skating just now, Miki Bayu kept staring at him, and Xiaoji might have discovered this. If she doesn't solve her problem, Xiaoji might not be able to have fun today. After thinking for a while, Kurosawa Hikaru reached into his pocket and took out his mobile phone. Wake up the screen, open line, find Miki Bayu in the friend list, his fingers fly, and type a line of words. After hesitating for a few seconds, Kurosawa Hikaru made up his mind and pressed the send button. After doing this, Kurosawa Hikaru put the phone back in his pocket and breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, Miki Bayu, who had taken off her gorgeous skating clothes and changed into casual clothes, was afraid of being discovered. She was hiding behind the door nervously. Suddenly, she felt the phone in her handbag vibrate and made a prompt sound. Hearing this sound, she reached into her small bag and took out her mobile phone. The phone woke up from sleep mode because of an incoming message, and a message from Line appeared in the center of the screen. Kurosawa-senpai, can you please stop staring at me? My girlfriend will be jealous. It's a bit late today, sorry, I didn't get home until 8 p.m. because I was busy. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 365. His skills are so good, they can't be taught. Nishikawa Miki noticed the gaze from the other side and was forced to hide. With her back against the door, she had a headache. Perhaps speed skating and figure skating are not the same category or event, but Kurosawa-senpai's ability to gallop around the ice rink and control skates so skillfully has obviously been practiced. Shall we find a chance to skate with them later? After thinking about it, Nishikawa Miki suggested. Even though Kurosawa-senpai has a girlfriend, it doesn't mean that he can't meet girls or have friends of the opposite sex. He just needs to pay attention to the scale of contact, such as saying hello when meeting, and being aware of the other person's existence. Bayu, why don't you say anything? After Nishikawa Miki spoke, she couldn't get a response and turned around with some confusion. But when she turned her head, the scene she saw shocked her. I saw Miki Bayu next to him. On that picturesque face, crystal tears were like pearls falling off the thread, constantly emerging from the corners of his eyes. Those beautiful light blue eyes were wet with tears and covered with a layer of mist. The figure of Fu Feng and Weik Lu was trembling slightly, as if he might fall down at any time. This look of silent tears made Nishikawa Miki heartbroken. Bayu, what's wrong with you? Seeing this scene, Nishikawa Miki's thoughts of making plans were shattered on the spot, and she was replaced by panic. What's happening here? Wasn't it fine just now? Faced with the concern and inquiry, Miki Bayu seemed to have heard nothing. Looking at the information on his phone, he just felt like a bolt from the blue. Can you please stop staring at me? My girlfriend will be jealous. This sudden information made her overwhelmed and felt like the sky was falling. The last message that made her feel this way was a message from Kurosawa-senpai, I have a girlfriend. It is not gentle at all, but shows an unswerving and unquestionable attitude. I'm sorry, did I force you to come here and make you unhappy? Miki Nishikawa felt very guilty when she saw her like this, and hurriedly apologized and comforted her. Could it be that seeing such a handsome side of Kurosawa-senpai, but not belonging to him, made Bayu even more sad? No matter what, admit your mistakes first when you encounter problems. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. As long as Bayu can be happy, everything will be easy. No, is it because she received some information? After a moment of panic, Nishikawa Miki noticed her staring blankly at her phone and became conscious. That's right, it's information. I just don't know what kind of bad information can make Bayu cry in such a short period of time. Have you seen any bad news? Upon noticing this, Nishikawa Miki suddenly became curious. She couldn't help but move her steps and came closer to her, wanting to take a look at the picture on her phone. In order to solve a problem, you must first understand the problem. Don't want. But just when she leaned over and was about to see the phone screen, Miki Bayu suddenly came back to her senses as if she was struck by thunder. She took a few steps back with great resistance, distanced herself from her, and pulled the phone behind her. Her chat history with Kurosawa-senpai must not be seen by Miki. She had an extremely strong feeling that if Miki saw the message that Kurosawa-senpai sent her, she would most likely run to confront Kurosawa-senpai in anger. Faced with such a resistant attitude, Nishikawa Miki froze, feeling very embarrassed. Sorry. Seeing her stiff and embarrassed reaction, Miki Bayu realized that he had hurt her and apologized to her with a deep bow. Miki Bayu straightened up, and suddenly felt dizzy. The scenery in front of him was very gray, his feet were weak, and his body staggered unbalanced. The successive blows were unbearable for her. Are you okay? Upon noticing this, Nishikawa Miki couldn't care less about her embarrassment and subconsciously wanted to help her. However, Miki Bayu did not fall, but stood firm. As a figure skater, she has a strong sense of balance. Miki, my legs are a little uncomfortable. They won't slip today. Standing with his head raised and chest raised, Mickey Bio saw the worried look on her face. In order to prevent her from worrying, he squeezed out a smile and explained. However, her explanation was too pale for Nishikawa Mickey. Because Mickey Bio's light blue eyes, as clear as the blue sea, were like springs, tears kept pouring out of them, and that forced smile was even more far-fetched. And her slightly trembling and sobbing voice made those who heard it sad. On weekdays, the quiet and well-behaved Bayou, the elegant and dreamy Bayou on the ice rink, at this moment, is shattered, as if she has fallen from the clouds to the bottom of the valley. She is no longer a beautiful princess, but just a heartbroken, sad, and painful one. Poor man. Don't worry, I'll go back and take a nap. I'll be fine in a few days. Mickey Bio met her distressed and worried eyes and realized that his explanation was useless. He bowed deeply to her again, picked up his bag, and started walking. The first few steps were a little staggering, but as he passed her, he ran away as if running away. Why is this happening? With eyes following her like a shadow, Nishikawa Mickey looked at her lonely and sad back, and stood paralyzed in confusion and self-blame. Even though she was a top student at Dongda University and a master in love, at this moment, she couldn't understand this situation. That's good. After making up his mind to send out a message that left no room for error, Kurosawa, wearing skates, stood in front of the fence with his hands in his pockets, feeling a little depressed. He had to strangle Mickey Bio's feelings in the cradle. He had not dated the schoolgirl yet, and the relationship was very shallow. He had only met her a few times before, so he could make up his mind to let go of her. Maybe he could use gentle methods, such as sending a message first to ask Mickey Bio to leave, and then expressing his attitude later, but he still chose to make a clean break. He really didn't want to make the same mistake again. On August 10th, the Shura field that broke out on the day of the martial arts field is still vivid in my heart and still vivid in my mind. That day, Chizuru collapsed and was heartbroken, and Xiaoyuki hid and cried, like two scars, deeply engraved in his heart. Yamamoto, hurry up. At the same time, Shianaoi was urging her. Everyone is waiting to watch the show and wait for Yamamoto to come back. Only two people were absent-minded, Kurosawa Hikaru and Ichino's Yuki. Although they also looked at Yamamoto, their eyes and attention were on the opposite side. Behind the fence opposite the ice rink and behind the door of the corridor, there was a person's presence that made them pay attention. At this moment, a snow-white figure suddenly appeared in the empty corridor, but the entrance door was small and fleeting. Why is she crying? It might have been a blink of an eye, but Yuki Ichino still saw the tearful figure and was stunned by it. Unlike before when she was about to cry, Mickey Bio was really crying at this moment, like running away crying sadly. Did Brother Guang send her a message just now? The next moment, Yuki Ichino's thought of a possibility based on the situation just now. Just now, Brother Guang suddenly took out his mobile phone to operate it, and even typed. He didn't know who he was sending a message to. She originally thought it was Miss Igarashi who sent the message. After all, Brother Guang was very busy and had various things going on, but that didn't seem to be the case. Did she cry? Kurosawa Hikaru's eyesight is very strong, and it may have passed by him in a flash, but Miki Shireo's movements and figure were completely visible to him. It was like a sharp knife, piercing into his heart, which made people very heartbroken and unbearable. The snow-white figure covered her mouth with one hand and ran with a bag in the other hand, as if she had been wronged in all kinds of ways, which was heartbreaking. If you are not a sadist, it is not pleasant to hurt other people's feelings. Kurosawa Hikaru felt very shaken in his heart, blaming himself and feeling guilty. The muscles in his legs were tense, and he had an urge to catch up and make up for it, but he still suppressed everything and convinced himself in his heart. He was already in 3 different situations, and had held a confession game. Although it ended in a very tragic way, the three girls also recognized each other's existence. Just trying to get three people to not mind each other's existence was already making him miserable, and he really couldn't add more people. Facing Senior Mickey, he actually had no choice, he didn't have to reject her in such a cruel way. For example, he only needs to show a very bad side, for example, he is a playboy, and let Mickey's senior sister be disappointed in him and think he is inferior. But if he does this, he is giving Mickey a chance, and he is also causing trouble for himself. Although the fact that he is a playboy is definitely a fatal injury to girls. But it would be difficult if Mickey Senpai doesn't mind that he is a playboy, but instead inspires her courage. And Mickey Senpai is different from Miss Runa. Her love for him is visible to the naked eye, it's the kind of thing where when you meet him, your eyes will be glued to him, and your eyes are all about you, and others can see it at a glance. As for Miss Runa, she may be an adult, or she may not like him that much, but just has a good impression of him, so she has never shown this aspect. If you continue to interrupt, you will suffer chaos, this is right. Kurosawa Hikaru kept convincing himself in his heart, trying to suppress the self-blame and guilt. Soon, Yamamoto Daiki crossed the finish line and then returned to everyone. "You're awesome." Finally returning to the group, Yamamoto Daiki looked at Kurosawa Hikari and felt very aggrieved, but he still recognized his greatness. Speed skating is the easiest event to reflect performance. The difference in time and speed means the gap in strength. It feels very uncomfortable to have the talents and skills that you are most proud of, being completely crushed by others. Are you not convinced that you lost? Do you want to compete with others? In response to this comment, Kurosawa Hikaru felt depressed and had nowhere to vent his worries. Seeing his unhappy look, he asked. As soon as these words came out, the smell of gunpowder was very strong, making everyone pay attention. "Would you like to compete?" Shion smacked her tongue a little. Looking at Kurosawa, she always felt that he looked a little scary, not at all as gentle as usual. Compared to what? Realizing that there was still a chance for a comeback, Yamamoto Daiki was really unwilling to give in. "Anything is fine, you can go anywhere else." Kurosawa Hikaru wanted to divert his attention and continue to worry about Miki Shiryu crying, but it only became more and more annoying. To be honest, he didn't want to play in this skating rink anymore. It would be best to find another place. But everyone paid for tickets, and except for him and Yamamoto, no one was skating. It would be bad if he said he wanted to leave. But if Yamamoto was to be the bad guy, he would be more than happy. That's better than figure skating. After hearing this, Yamamoto Daiki thought for a while. Originally, he wanted to win by relying on physical strength and technical advantages over karate and other fighting skills. However, using a fight to differentiate between superior and inferior is very against the rules in a small group of hot girls and may hurt feelings. Yamamoto, why not change the project? Chiyukui didn't expect him to choose this way and couldn't help but say. Before coming to the skating rink, she thought the skating rink was very unfair to Kurosawa. But after seeing the speed skating competition just now, she already understood that Kurosawa was very good at skating, and not just average. Yes. She and I also felt that this was a suicidal choice and agreed with it. The game must be suspenseful to be fun. This kind of duel, where the outcome was already decided before the game even started, made her unmotivated. The skating rink only has two modes, speed skating and figure skating. If you change the event, you will have to change places. You just bought the tickets, so we can't let you suffer. Although Yamamoto Daiki looks like a tough guy on the surface, his thoughts are very delicate. If he was really what he appeared to be, there would be no way he could learn such an effeminate ice sport as figure skating. That's true, but you have no chance of winning, why don't you just admit defeat? Aoi Shiina thought about it. It cost more than 2,000 yen to buy tickets and rent skates. If the venue was changed, it would be a real loss, so he simply advised Yamamoto, "There's no shame in losing to Kurosawa." Sato agreed, always uniting with his girlfriend at all times. Perhaps in the previous hot girl group, the 4 hot girls and the 3 boyfriends all had their own strengths, and their strengths were well balanced, and they could all be used in different entertainment projects. But after Kurosawa came, the situation was completely different. Now is the era of one super player and many strong players. Who says I have no chance of winning? Hearing this, Yamamoto Daiki was very dissatisfied and glanced at Kurosawa again. "Do you have any chance of winning?" Chiyukoi teased. There is an essential difference between speed skating and figure skating. Speed skating is just like running. Rather than technique, it pays more attention to core strength and overall quality. You can skate fast with a lighter weight. But figure skating is different. Figure skating, it's not just about skating, it's also about dancing, and it's also about technique. After looking at it carefully, Yamamoto Daiki nodded firmly. "What you're saying is that you think your speed skating is not as fast as mine because you are taller and bigger." Kurosawa Hikaru heard the implication of his words. Although he was taking the initiative to stir up trouble, it was true that this guy was unconvinced by the loss. "I didn't say that. What I wanted to say was that I don't believe you can still dance." Yamamoto Daiki shook his head, then looked at him and hummed. "Figure skating cannot be learned quickly. Most professional figure skating players start learning figure skating when they are 4 or 5 years old. They learn skating and dance together." Although he did not insist on figure skating all the time, he did attend a formal dance class. However, as he grew older, his height soared too quickly, and he gradually gave up. He was betting that as long as Kurosawa couldn't dance, he had a chance of winning. Good. Seeing that he still had the courage to challenge, Kurosawa didn't want to hit him and just nodded. "How do you determine the winner in figure skating?" Ami Shiina was a little puzzled. In addition to technique and difficulty of movements, there is also artistic expression. To put it simply, as long as the skating looks better, it usually means the technique is stronger. Hitomi Matsushita found an opportunity and said, "Then Yamamoto is definitely going to lose. Kurosawa doesn't have to do anything. Just stand there and it will look so good." Realizing this criterion, Shiina Aoi raised her eyes and glanced at Kurosawa Hikaru's handsome and picturesque face, then glanced at the rough-looking Yamamoto, and couldn't help but murmur, "You'll know after the comparison." Hearing her ruthless belittling, Yamamoto Daiki was a little angry and just said, "I'll go first." Having said that, he couldn't help but move, swinging his feet left and right, sliding sideways and then sliding backwards, facing the crowd, but his body kept moving backwards. As his feet swung, he did not slide forward, but kept retreating to distance himself. This backslide is an eye-opener for everyone who has never seen a figure skating competition before. Wow! Shiina Ai's character is very straightforward, and she will express her thoughts basically. Seeing Yamamoto's revealing actions, she was immediately impressed by him. Is it this silky smooth? Yuki Ichinos, who was troubled by the fact that Miki Shiraha ran away crying, was also attracted by this scene. An expert will know if there is one as soon as he takes action. Just looking at this action, the difference in level between Yamamoto and everyone else is obvious. Even skating on the ice rink and maintaining balance was a problem for her, but Yamamoto was able to move so silkily and smoothly. It felt like she hadn't learned to walk yet, but Yamamoto had already learned to sprint 100 meters. When everyone realized this, they all looked at Kurosawa Hikari, wanting to see his reaction. However, Kurosawa Hikaru stood in front of the fence, face expressionless and completely unmoved by Yamamoto Daiki's display of skills. In a blink of an eye, Yamamoto Daiki skated to the center of the ice rink, braked suddenly, and lowered his head slightly. With such movements, he, who looked very rough, actually showed a kind of graceful feeling, and the contrast was extremely strong. "Kurosawa, aren't you going over?" Seeing this scene, Shion-Alan found that Kurosawa Hikaru was still motionless, so she asked curiously. Figure skating singles is a solo performance, not a competition on the same stage, and a wide enough venue is required. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head and explained. Everyone realized such a rule and nodded. At this time, without the need for a referee or a countdown, Yamamoto Daiki in the field moved his body. His body began to sway and dance on the ice. Without the rhythm of music, it looked a little awkward, and everyone was confused. Even though Yamamoto's body movements were very regular, it could be seen that he had a good dance foundation, but it was difficult to show beauty in a dance without music. It's a pity that there is no music. Seeing her boyfriend's performance, Matsushita Hitomi noticed everyone's reaction and felt a little sorry. A complete figure skating performance must be accompanied by music. Following the rhythm of the beat can show the charm of this sport to the greatest extent. However, after all, it is not a formal competition, and there is no way to keep up with the rhythm of the beat, so the technical movements are compared. As the dance on the ice, Yamamoto Daiki's body began to move rapidly on the ice rink. Unlike the feeling of speed skating, because there is no opponent to compare with him, only the static viewing of the audience outside the field, Yamamoto's speed looks very fast. With fast skating and finding the right rhythm, Yamamoto Daiki began his performance, holding his legs and turning. Wow, it turns so fast. With this one move alone, Shion-Alan felt that it was unusual. Then, Yamamoto Daiki began to show a series of figure skating moves. Swallow turn, squatting turn, upright turn, directly a set of joint rotation. The so-called joint rotation is to connect different rotations, and the technical difficulty is quite high. Seeing his performance, everyone stared with wide eyes, not wanting to miss any of his moves. The charm of figure skating lies in the various technical moves, which are visible to the naked eye and are very enjoyable to watch. After the rotation, Yamamoto Daiki restored his body's balance and began to slide quickly, smoothly, and backward, entering the rest stage. After all, after a quick rotation, normal people will feel dizzy. Even if people who have practiced dancing have stronger adaptability, he is not a professional after all, so it is inevitable that there will be some impact and he needs to calm down. Although figure skating has a variety of difficult moves, it can be divided into 4 aspects: jumping, spinning, footwork, and skating movements composed of various postures. A complete figure skating performance must have all 4 of the above. After a good rest, Yamamoto immediately began to challenge the jumping action. Jumping is one of the most enjoyable moves, because the feeling of spinning quickly in the air gives people a strong visual impact. It's really powerful. Faced with such a performance, Kurosawa Hikaru watched it very seriously. He had no theoretical knowledge of figure skating, but Yamamoto Daiki's movements and techniques were really beyond the scope of ordinary people. Maybe his movements were obviously different from those of figure skating geniuses like Miki Shiraha, but in the amateur field, he had a very good level. Because it was not the length of a piece of music, but a free performance, Yamamoto Daiki returned to the front of the small group after trying his best to show all the techniques he had mastered. With his return, everyone responded enthusiastically. "Yamamoto, I didn't expect you to be so good." Shion-Alan grabbed the fence with one hand, stabilized her body, slid over a little bit, and patted his arm with her hand, very surprised. "I have a new look at you. What kind of dance is this? It looks fun." They all knew that Yamamoto's skating level was very high, better than their group of beginners, but they never expected that Yamamoto would be so good. Ballet. Yamamoto saw Hinata's imitation of swinging his arms, hesitated, and confessed. Men practicing ballet give people a sissy feeling, and that's why he never showed his talent in this area when he came to the skating rink before. But today, in order to defeat Kurosawa Hikaru, he gave it his all. "I'm done," It's your turn. Without waiting for everyone's reaction, Yamamoto Daiki was a little out of breath, his chest was up and down, but he looked at Kurosawa Hikaru with a very happy and complacent expression. His expression was as if he was saying, "I'm strong, I know." The pride of triumph was revealed. It feels great to fully demonstrate your abilities and be recognized by everyone, just like a great victory. Okay. Kurosawa Hikaru was already eager to try when watching the performance, and nodded with a smile. Entry-level skating and entry-level ballet, what kind of figure skating can be combined together? He really wants to know the answer. Today, I finally finished all the things before and after the new year, and I started to work on adding more chapters in the next few days.